Thank you very much. I call this regular meeting of the San Marcos City Council to order. Today is Tuesday, March 31st, in the year 2026. The time is 6 p.m. Ms. Trevino, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Basel.
Here.
Ms. Garza. Here. Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All right, and our invocation this evening is being given by Pastor Rick Robertson of the New Zion Church in San Marcos.
Let us pray. Thank you, Guy. Amen. Gracious God, we come before you tonight with grateful hearts for the city and for the people who call San Marcos home. We thank you for the gift of community. We ask that your wisdom rest upon every person gathered in this chamber as the work of the people begins. Lord, we lift up by name tonight Mayor Jane Houston and the council members Matthew Mendoza, Josh Paselk, Alyssa Garza, Shane Scott, Lorenzo Gonzalez, and Amanda Rodriguez. They didn't have to say yes to public service, but they did, and we honor that sacrifice on tonight. We're asking that you strengthen them where they are weary, encourage them where they feel overlooked, and protect them and their families from the weight that so often accompanies leadership in the public eye. Give them thick skin and tender hearts. Help them to listen well, to speak with integrity, and to govern with the kind of humility that puts people before politics. We'll also thank you tonight for the dedicated city staff who make these meetings possible, including Beverly Trollinger and her colleagues in the city clerk's office, whose faithful work behind the scenes ensures that the people's business gets done and that there's care and professionalism with all of them. May they all too feel honored and valued in their service. We pray for unity among this council, Father, even in moments of disagreement. Remind him that the diversity of perspective around this diocese is not a weakness but a strength, and that the city is best served when its leaders see common ground and over sacrifice and conviction. Lord God, we pray for the safety of the broader community. We're mindful of the challenges that remind us how fragile life can be. We ask that your protection over every household in Hays County. We ask that you will just continue to guide. We thank you for all the men and women in the law enforcement and the emergency services who stand watch so that others can sleep in peace. As this city continues to plan for its future, from infrastructure and housing to the economic opportunities coming to our region, may the decisions that are made tonight reflect a commitment that will serve every resident, not just the most visible, but also the most vulnerable. And as a budget season draws near, give this council, the city, and the city staff the vision to be faithful stewards of the public trust placed in their hands, Lord. We're also praying, asking for these city managers and the assistant city managers, Stephanie Reyes and Rodney Gonzalez, Lonzo Anderson, John Pantelian. We're asking that you will just be with them and bless them as they carry out these things to make reality of the decisions that are made in this room, in this chamber. We love you, we praise you, and we're praying that you have your way in this meeting. Let peace be done, let hearing be understood, and we're praying that everybody will come together in unity. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Oh, I like that. Tender hearts and tough skin. Oh, I like that. All right. And so now our next item is pledges of allegiance to the United States and to the great state of Texas. Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all. Next up is our citizen comment time period. City Council will hear citizen comments at regular meetings, work sessions, and workshops. There is a process to sign up to speak. And for those of you online, when it's almost your turn, there's going to be a pop-up question. Be sure you respond to that so that you'll be able to speak and turn on your video when the time comes. Speakers may speak once during citizen comment time period and may not yield time to others. If you speak now about a public hearing topic on tonight's agenda, I ask that you just not repeat exactly the same comments during the public hearing on the same topic. When it's your turn to speak, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes. When you begin speaking, you'll see the timer is mostly green. When you have 20 seconds left, you'll see only yellow, and there'll be a little ping sound. And when your time to speak is up, the timer will be red and a bell will ring. If you hear a popping sound, step back a little from the microphone. The mayor and council will endeavor to ensure that meetings are conducted in a courteous manner and in an atmosphere free of defamation, intimidation, personal insults, profanity, or threats of violence. If you do any of those, you'll hear the gavel, and I will ask you to leave the council chambers. This is your warning. Our first speaker this evening is, let me read them all in order. Sam Young, Maxfield Baker, Virginia Parker, and Billy Ray Callahan. Sam Young, you are first.
Sam Young. First, a thank you to the city for the use of the San Marcos Block Party trailer. My neighborhood used it this past weekend. It's a great idea with positive results. I'm going to give you my opinion on several things, but I have various items that I want to touch on. We've got 6 months till a new budget. Once past the everyday city expenses, what projects that you as an individual council member want that will not be able to be funded? Where are we on the new license plate readers? Where are we on the EMS department? It's almost time for the study we paid for regarding Capes Dam. Leaving aside politics and personal egos, what can the city do to partner with Texas State to work together to bring more businesses for commercial property taxes to take the burden off homeowners? And I may have this next one a little wrong, but I'll try it anyway. Recently, I've been to New Braunfels and Bastrop on 2 separate Saturdays. Both downtown areas had large crowds in the middle of the day spending money. I got to San Marcos with lots of people at the river and at the baseball fields. Nothing wrong with that. I realize San Marcos is a college town that has a different atmosphere. If we are a historic city, we need a better draw for visitors downtown in the middle of the day who have money to spend. And having lived here for a few years, I am aware of negative views of the police. I don't know the history or what events in the past have caused this. Chief Standridge is doing a great job and is providing strong leadership. He and the police force need more support. As far as the police budget is concerned, the police study we paid for recommended hiring more support staff. It was pointed out that this hiring need has been kicked down the road for several years. And all of this is for you to consider as the budget for fiscal year 2027 is created. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Maxfield Baker, who I think is joining us online.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you and see you.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name is Maxfield Baker, and I am here to talk about our event that the San Marcos Civics Club is putting on called the Speak Up event. This is our inaugural attempt at this. And so we have a bunch of nonprofits and vendors that are going to be there day of. This is going to be at Eddie Durham Park on this Saturday, April the 4th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We're doing this in conjunction with the San Marcos Studio Art Tour. There's a lot of other great stuff going on. So we hope that the community is able to join us. We've also made sure to invite all of our elected officials. And we have also invited all of our boards and committee members as well. We hope that you all take an opportunity to show up. Citizen comment is usually just one direction of us kind of talking at you, and this will give you all a chance to have true dialogue with our community and actually address some of the questions and concerns and issues that they have. We're also going to have a lot of raffle tickets donated by our generous business community and have opportunities as well. You know, again, the whole event is focused on giving people a chance to practice public speaking. It is something that you need to work on as a skill, and that over time, you know, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. And our event is going to basically put a microphone in your hand and give you 3 minutes to speak about whatever you like. You could talk about issues facing the city. You could talk about personal issues you've been experiencing, an event you have coming up. You could just come and read a poem, whatever strikes your fancy, because the reality is every member of our community has such a unique perspective. And when we give folks an opportunity to hear or to say that perspective, we all grow better for it. And so, again, this event is really focused on bringing community together, listening to the issues that are facing our residents and our neighbors, and then working collaboratively to figure out how we can move forward. You know, the San Marcos Civics Club is really focused on making our local government more accessible and transparent. And sometimes the help that we give to folks is just giving them the right contact from city staff or maybe another nonprofit or organization already working in those spaces. This year, we're really focused on the environment. But last year we focused on tenants' rights, and we still have a bunch of issues that we're spinning around on those fronts as well. So thank you all very much. We hope to see you this weekend, again, April the 4th, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Eddie Durham Park, there across from the Calaboose Museum. Thank you so much.
Next is Virginia Parker. I think she said what she needed to say at 3, and Billy Ray Callahan.
Hello, my name is Billy Ray Callahan, I live at 740 Center Street here in San Marcos, Texas, and this letter is addressed to the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting this evening on March 31st, 2026. I, Billy Ray Callahan, am requesting a town halls meeting with the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission to discuss the following issues. And those issues are: number 1, neighborhood zoning, and number 2, the Historical Preservation Commission and its allies, Habitat for the Humanities, and Preservation Texas. The Olmsted Apartments on Valley Street in San Marcos was a historical building that was recently purchased by Mr. and Mrs. David Zings when they proposed to build a 3-story apartment at 734 Valley Street, which was concerning to our residents in the neighborhood. Therefore, I am requesting a town halls meeting so that all the parties can come together and discuss the following concerns. And those concerns is single family 6, which is for married families who are raising children. In other words, homestead housing or homestead living. And number 2, multifamily 24 zoning, which is for apartment buildings that are built 3 stories or more. In other words, student housing or the gentrification of Dunbar. There are many concerns about having students living in near areas where young children live in place. So I say no to multifamily 24 for the only promotes student housing and gentrification of Dunbar, which means higher property taxes. On the next page, the following parties are requested to be attended at this town halls meeting, and they are from 1 to 16. Mayor Jane Houston, you need to get in touch with Allison Brake so that those letters can go out so that this town hall meeting can take place. And that is all. Thank you for listening.
And that concludes our citizen comment time period. What is up next is some presentations. Ms. Trevino, tell us about presentation number 1.
Yes, ma'am. Receive a staff presentation on the financial report for the quarter ending December 31, 2025, and provide direction to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. John Locke, Finance Director. Next slide, please. This presentation will provide a summary of the activity through the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. At the March 25th Finance and Audit Committee, the committee received a detailed report that was also included in the as an attachment to this item.
as well as the notes that were shared with the committee that describe some of the differences and fluctuations in each one of the funds that was also included as part of this packet. Just to walk you through the summary form or summary slide, on the left-hand side, you have a list of the major operating funds. And as you move to the right, you have the revenue budget, the actual revenues, the percent of budget, that would be the percent of revenue collected to date, the expense budget, the actual expenses, and then the percent of the budget that was spent to date. Being 25% of the way through the fiscal year, you would think that you'd be close to 25%. It doesn't exactly work out that way, but just as a barometer, you could use that. So for the general fund, the total revenue budget's $123 million. The actual revenue brought in was $24.5 million. So we had brought in about 20% of the total budget through the first quarter. You'll notice that it's green, as well as all the other colors are green. And what that is showing is that compared to a 3-year average, we're within 2.5% of the total budget collected, or on the expense side, the total budget spent for that particular fund. So if it were yellow, that means that it's between 2.5% and 5%, so it's on watch. And if it was over 5% of a variance, then that would be red instead of green. Just to going further over on the general fund, the expense budget is $127 million, and we spent $26 million. So we spent just under 21% of the total budget. Just to touch on a couple things with the general fund. The first is property tax. In the general fund, property tax is the largest revenue source, and we get most of our property tax collections from the tax assessor collector in January and February. So our total revenue tends to lag behind a little bit. Another item I wanted to touch on was just sales tax revenue, and that is because sales tax revenues through the end of this quarter were up $400,000 compared to the prior year, and $470,000 compared to what was estimated for budget. So we're in a much better place than where we have been over the past couple years with sales tax revenue. Another item I wanted to bring to council's attention is on the hotel tax fund. At the last financial report update, I showed that there were 2 hotels that were significantly past due. Those 2 hotels have made a big payment and brought the hotel taxes almost current. They're still a couple months past due. And we had worked with them, and they told us that they would bring the remaining amount up to date by tomorrow. So we should receive the remaining payment tomorrow. That concludes what I wanted to share with the financial summary. Be happy to address any questions council may have.
Council, questions? If not, we can move on to item 2.
Mayor. Receive a staff presentation on the investment report for the quarter ending December 31, 2025, and provide direction to the city manager.
Thank you again. And just as with the financial summary, the investment detail report was provided to the Finance and Audit Committee meeting at the March 25th meeting, and that detailed report is also included in the packet. Looking at the total portfolio at the end of December 31st, 2025 quarter, you have the total portfolio is $458 million, looking at the total of the top portion, and that is comprised of the enterprise funds, which are the electric, water, wastewater, stormwater, resource recovery, and airport, and then what we refer to as consolidated, which is really just all the other funds, the biggest of which would be the general fund. And then for each one of those types of funds, you see the different, what's called an asset type. So the top part would be the local government investment pools and the money market accounts. So you can see how much money each one of those has. in that particular type. The securities, which would be U.S. Treasuries or federal agencies, you can see how much each fund type has invested there. And then demand accounts are just the accounts that the city uses to pay its bills and pay payroll. Moving down to the middle section, that has the yield on the city's portfolio. On the left-hand side, the total portfolio yield was 3.8%, and our benchmark is the two-year Treasury, and that's 3.5%. So we did come in above our two-year benchmark. And to the right of that, it has the rolling 12-month yield. So on the total portfolio, it's 4.2%, and the rolling two-year Treasury was 3.8%. At the very bottom, it has the total interest earnings in the first quarter, and as you can see, it's $4.8 million. To the right of that, it has bank fees offset, and what that is that's just the amount of fees that the city was not charged because we left enough money in our demand accounts to offset those fees. So that concludes the investment summary. Be happy to address any questions council may have.
Council, any questions? If not, moving on to item 3, Mr. Trevino.
Receive the annual audit report filed with the city clerk's office on March 25, 2026, and highlights from the city's audit firm ABIP PC on the City of the San Marcos Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2025.
The state law and the city charter require an annual independent audit of the city's financial report. ABIP was engaged to perform the audit for fiscal year 2025, and Jeremy Barbato, a partner with ABIP, is here to provide an overview of the audit results. Mr. Barbato.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for having me here today. Again, my name is Jeremy Barbato. I'm an audit partner with ABIP. I oversaw the city's audit for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2025. We met with the Finance and Audit Committee last week, I believe on the 25th, and went over this in a little more detail. To speed things along, I'll cover this on a very high level, but if you have any questions over anything in the annual comprehensive financial report or the audit process in general, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer those. First off, I just want to point out that the 2024 fiscal year annual comprehensive financial report received this Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting from GFOA, which is the Governing Finance Officers Association. This is the city's 46th year in a row to achieve that. So kudos to the finance team for maintaining that streak. And we don't doubt that this 25 will hit number 47. A couple pages into the financial report is actually our independent auditor's report on our letterhead. It basically states what we were engaged to do, and that's issue an opinion over the financial statements of the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2025 for the city of San Marcos. And we conducted our audit in accordance with our standards, which are generally accepted auditing standards, and government auditing standards. And we find enough evidence gathered through our audit procedures to issue an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion. It's the highest opinion you can get from an independent accounting firm. Basically states there's no departures from generally accepted accounting principles, and you comply with the government auditing standards required. Real high level, going over the general fund balance at the end of September 30th, did end with $41.3 million in general fund balance. That was a decrease of about $2.5 million. Of that $41 million, roughly $40 million is sitting in assigned or unassigned. So that equates to roughly 4.5 months, or a little over 4 months of operating reserves. So that's a healthy fund balance for the city. Going over to explain the decrease in fund balance for the year. The city did bring in $115.7 million in operating revenue. Most of that, or 81% of that, is in your taxes. So it's $94.3 million in related to that. You did have expenditures of $113,000. So your overall operations before transfers was actually a net profit of 1.8. But we had some budgeted transfers that we were going to do to the other funds, and that caused a decrease of $4 million. So overall, net decrease of $2.5 million for the fiscal year. The rest of the financial statements has more notes. The financial statements kind of gives more detail behind the balances themselves that are presented on the face financials. Wasn't going to cover any of those unless anyone had any questions on that. Lastly, I will cover our letter of conduct of audit, and this basically our required communication with you on how the audit went. If there was any disagreements with management, which there wasn't, or any difficulties in performing the audit, required to communicate that to you. Or if there were any material misstatements, we didn't have any material misstatements to the financial statements. So the financial information you're getting to make your decisions, you can rely on your quarterly or monthly basis. That said, we did have to adopt a new accounting policy during the fiscal year. It's GASB Statement 101 over compensated absences. It was just this year of implementation that was required, and we did have to restate beginning fund balance, and that's on note 5 in the financial statements that goes over why we had to restate that. Nothing the city could have done. It was just a new accounting standard that came in that we had to implement. With that, I'll take any questions you may have.
You said what we always look for. There were no issues.
No issues, no disagreements. Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Vino, we will move on. Oh, and just a notation that we're required by law to have that filed with the city clerk's office last Friday, and that was done.
Yes.
Okay. If we can move on to item 4.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a discussion on the North of Campus Neighborhood Area Plan.
Good evening, Council. Craig Garrison, Planner, Planning and Development Services. I'm here to present an update on the drafted North of Campus Neighborhood Area Plan. And pardon me. As a part of the comprehensive plan, 7 area plans were identified and directed by City Council to be drafted. I'm glad to present to you tonight one of the 7 plans, the North of Campus Neighborhood Area Plan. The boundary of this plan was approved by City Council in August of 2022 and encompasses the area between north of Sessom Drive, on both sides of North LBJ Drive, and along Chestnut Street with a northwestern boundary of Ramsey Street. Next slide, please. All right, the role of the neighborhood area planning is to look at and balance the needs and challenges of specific neighborhoods with opportunities for those neighborhoods. It studies the character of the neighborhood or its DNA. It provides an opportunity to speak with neighborhood residents on more localized key topics, also helps identify projects and programs specific for the neighborhood. It fosters multiple opportunities to have organic dialogue with neighborhood residents. Next slide. We started development of the plan and officially kicked off the plan in September of 2023 and have steadily worked towards to where we are today, the adoption process. Next slide. Development of the plan involves speaking to a variety of different people throughout the process. Community engagement was an integral part of the comprehensive plan, and we wanted to continue that through the development of the area plans. The intent of the plan is to listen and balance all the community voices heard throughout the development of the plan process. We hosted 5 steering committee meetings along with a steering committee walking tour of the neighborhood. The steering committee is made up of residents, business owners, property owners, and stakeholders from the plan area boundary. 3 community workshops were held. Postcards advertising these events were sent to all property owners and tenants within the boundary for each event. Workshops had over 98 attendees that presented over 200 plus comments, revisions that shaped the plan. Approximately 550 postcards were mailed to each engagement event, totaling more than 1,700 postcards overall. Next slide. The plan is broken out into 7 key topics: getting around, history, art, and culture, public spaces and amenities, streetscapes, business community, existing housing stock, and building form and development. Next slide. Each of the 7 topics describes key concepts and existing conditions in the neighborhood. It describes community and stakeholder feedback received as part of the plan's development. It identifies specific recommendations for the plan area intended to be carried out by the city or specific partners such as property owners. There's also included case studies in the plan that shows similar communities to San Marcos so that the city can learn from others' experiences. Next slide. We were strategic and intentional about tying what we heard as part of the community engagement back to the plan and any recommendations within the plan. On this slide, you'll see a page out of the infill development section of the plan and how one of the subsections is broken down. In yellow, you'll see key concepts and existing conditions are introduced. In the green, you'll see the followed by community and stakeholder feedback. And lastly, at the end of the subsection, specific recommendations for the plan area. Next slide. This slide demonstrates how the big ideas we heard from the community and stakeholders have been translated into recommendations. An example of a big idea is community needs to feel safe walking and biking throughout the neighborhood and to install safety improvements at key intersections. So you can find 2 recommendations which speak to bettering the neighborhood regarding the specific issue. Recommendation Streetscapes 1.2 states identify priority locations for incremental traffic calming and placemaking measures, such as colorful sidewalks, bulb outs, and landscape strips and medians to reduce vehicle speeds and improve pedestrian experience so that it is enjoyable and safe. When possible, consider the use of permeable pavers. During the area plan process, residents expressed that they wanted to implement a traffic control measure to help reduce vehicle speeds in an area and make it safer to move within the plan area from the university to their homes. So this is shown in Getting Around 2.6, which states evaluate pedestrian crossings across the plan area for safety and convenience, especially at the intersection of North LBJ Drive and Chestnut Street. This priority intersection has comment after comment from residents asking for safer pedestrian experience, especially on bikes and at nighttime. Pardon me 1 second, next slide. Included throughout the plan are case studies of similar communities to San Marcos that have experienced success with a specific recommendation. This case study highlights Dubuque, Iowa's Green Alley program that rebuilt over 80 alleys. This concept could be similarly implemented in a few portions of north of campus area to retrofit alleys to be walkable corridors that also manage stormwater in this steep area. This could be a similar process to the reconstruction of Kissing Alley in downtown San Marcos. As redevelopment occurs along existing vacant alleys in north of campus, staff and property owners could work together to implement this strategy. Next slide. Implementation of the plan is just as important as the development of the plan, and the action plan section outlines how the goals of the plan may be achieved. For each topic and subtopic within the plan, there are short-term action items that can be implemented. These items can be easily checked off the list as we move into implementation. This will become our to-do list. The action plan identifies potential leaders and partners, as well as the driver needed to implement the action. Most cases, the city and property owners are the drivers. And implementation will require city departments like Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and Engineering to work together to implement the plan. Next slide. The implementation will require financial investment. So there is a list of financing tools which identifies outside funding sources that could be applied for by the city or other potential partners. Please know that this is not an all-encompassing list, and staff recognizes that additional funding could be available in the future. Next slide. The neighborhood character study is included in the plan as an appendix. The character study was directed by City Council to be completed with each area plan. It documents the factors that contribute to the character of the neighborhood, like lot size, architectural styles, and building orientation. It provides descriptions of quantitative metrics and qualitative factors. It recommends how the neighborhood character can be respected and maintained. And throughout the plan development, staff was on the ground going property to property to gather data and use geographic information systems, or GIS, to provide some of the metrics as well. Next slide. Following adoption, the plan and neighborhood character study will be publicly accessible. Staff will use the plan during pre-development meetings with property owners or potential developers and architects and engineers exploring the area. As development requests occur in the area, staff will guide new applicants on how to incorporate the guidelines into a proposed development so it can be compatible with existing neighborhood character and topography. The neighborhood character study and area plan are intended to be a tool and resource so that change over time in the boundary will be in scale and compatible with surrounding properties and the goal of the plan. Additionally, for requests that require board, commission, or city council approval, such as zoning changes or alternative compliance requests, staff will provide an analysis of the plan within staff reports presented to these bodies. This will help decision makers be informed on how a proposal meets or does not meet the recommendations within the area plan. Next slide, please. As with the downtown area plan and Blanco Gardens neighborhood area plan, once this neighborhood area plan is adopted, nothing on the ground changes until it is implemented through other initiatives. Following adoption of the plan, staff will need to evaluate and update the development code as necessary, incorporate the plan into the capital improvement projects, and begin evaluating projects and plans and policies for short-term implementation. Next slide. Staff provided a survey to the 7-member steering committee following their final meeting on December 3rd. 4 replies were received. We did have a couple of steering committee members drop out over the 3 years. All voted yes to recommending the plan to the commission as well as city council for adoption and approval. 3 members did not respond. I do want to take this time just to give my thanks to the steering committee. I would also like to thank some city staff as well, particularly Brittany Faulkner and also Andrea Villalobos. Next slide. This slide shows the adoption process of the plan. While not required, we will be providing updates to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. The plan is being presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission for recommendation on April 14th. Staff anticipates that it will be forwarded to City Council for public hearing and discussion on April 21st for City Council to take action, and lastly, for adoption on May 5th. Next slide. To view the draft plan and to explore past events and ongoing CIP projects within the neighborhood, please visit the project story map for the most up-to-date information. You can navigate there through the QR code or link in front of you. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, this is a presentation, not for a vote. And I have a question. I'm trying desperately to get to the plan. When I got to it Sunday evening, it locked up my whole computer, had to reboot. And right now, even using that, I get to this document, but I'm not getting to the actual plan itself. So if y'all could send something like that, send me a link or the actual plan would be great.
I can do that immediately after this
Because I'm
presentation.
sure it's lovely.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Council, questions, thoughts, concerns on the plan?
I've heard the presentation a couple times, and you did a great job.
Ms. Rodriguez had her hand up.
No, just sincere appreciation. This link in particular, and I mentioned it on the message board, just wanted to say it out loud. I really do appreciate the fact that y'all took the time to not only put like if somebody missed one of these meetings, the presentation that was provided, but also even comments that came from those meetings. And so I got a chance to look through the plan. I really appreciate all the work that went into it. Just out of curiosity, as it relates to the permeable pavers,
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. I would just ask that, and I know this is preliminary, but I would just ask that we get with the Hill Country Alliance, because I just sat in one of their info sessions, and permeable pavers is great to manage stormwater, but they also mentioned that there's very specific ways to do it in the case slopes and things like that. So I can send y'all any of that information that I received as a result of that.
Please do. Thank you.
But yeah, thank you.
I finally found the link buried in that one, and I can actually view it here, but I can't at home, so I'll print it here.
Okay.
Mr. Passat, did you have anything else? Ms. Garza? Anybody over here?
Thank you.
Okay. So, and it's May
April 21st is when you'll see it, and then May 5th for adoption.
May 5th, okay. All right. So we thank you for that, and we thank all of the staff and the citizens who participated to help put that plan together.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, council, we now have ordinances, resolutions, et cetera, numbers 5 through 13, that, as you know, we can act upon by one vote. And unless a council member wants to pull something, which you're more than welcome to do so. So is there anything that anyone wishes to pull? I'll start over here on this side and give you another second. Anything over here? Nope, nope, nope. Over here? And I
Yes,
think you were
ma'am.
considering one, Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes, ma'am, item 13.
Okey-doke. So I would seek a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5 through 12.
So moved.
Second.
I will give that one to Ms. Rodriguez and the second. To Mr. Scott. My microphone keeps going off. Consent agenda items 5 through 12 is what we're voting on now.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so we will, as is our tradition, we will move on to our public hearings. Ms. Trevino, if you will read the first one there.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against ordinance 2026-09, annexing into the city approximately 11.548 acres of land generally located on the south side of Highway 21 and 900 feet north of Highway 21 and Highway 80 intersection, commonly known as 1710 Highway 21 in Hays County, Texas, case number AN-25-07, approving an amendment service agreement for the provision of services to said property, including procedural provisions, and declaring effective date, and consider approval of ordinance 2026-09 on the first of two readings.
Presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Terry Floyd, Director of Planning and Development Services. And so, yes, thank you for advancing the slide. Tonight in front of you is an annexation request from TxDOT for their maintenance facility out on Highway 21. They currently have a facility there and requesting that the city annex this property. We had some meetings with TxDOT. I believe this may have even been prior to me being here. And they wanted to annex the facility for service for our water service and potential sewer service for some eventual redevelopment of that property. And so that's what's in front of you tonight. The service plan, which is attached, does outline that the water is the city of San Marcos along with the wastewater. Their electric is Blue Bonnet. Next slide, please. So looking at the surrounding zoning, of course, the facility has been there for quite a number of years. I don't know the exact year, but as my kids would tell me, the 1900s at some point there. But it has been around for a while, and they're looking at that redevelopment. There is surrounded by some single family. Of course, the property would be zoned what we would call future development. That does allow for the TxDOT facility to be there under rights, so that's what it would be. There's not a rezone, it would be needed. And of course, they'll be in the ETJ. Some of the surrounding uses, of course, are vacant and agricultural. If you've been out that way before, I may be familiar with the site. Next slide, please. Just a couple of brief maps of the area. You can see some of the water and wastewater lines that we have in some of the different roadways there. Of course, in our thoroughfare plan, the property may go through a development plat to do some type of improvements as they move forward with their plan that they're still working through today. Next slide, please. And so going forward, of course, tonight, you did see this on a resolution sometime back. That's the approval of the service agreement on a consent docket back in February. Tonight's our first reading of the public hearing, the first reading of the ordinance, and that'll come back to you for second reading on April 21st for that annexation. Next slide, please. And so with that, staff recommends approval of the annexation as presented. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay,
And that concludes my presentation.
all right. We'll hold those questions until after the public hearing. So I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak for, against, or about. Approach the podium. We'll need your name and your address or general vicinity of where you live. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, and I will await a motion from council.
Motion to approve?
Motion from
Second.
Mr. Mendoza, seconded by Mr. Paselk. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, thank you for the question you put on the message board about who is providing water today, which for the public, that's the city. Who is providing wastewater today for the public, that is the city. Just a question out of curiosity. The map that was on the previous slide, I believe it was, on the left. It had the potable and sanitary water lines. If we could have that pulled up.
It would have been back just a couple of slides, Hayden.
Yeah,
There you go.
there we go. Oh. The one right after that, sorry. There we go. Just out of curiosity, with 21 right there, do we foresee any difficulties getting a line connected? Is there already a line connected? I'm not reading this map correctly. I'm just trying to understand what future infrastructure projects would look like if necessary.
I don't know that that's totally been determined yet, because I don't know that they know the full scope, but I may have to ask if there were any other future ones there, but I do believe it's served there today.
Okay. Because when I saw the answer to the mayor's question, I just was trying to figure out where that was depicted on that map.
Of course, the blue lines are the potable, and I apologize if I misunderstood, if you were talking about a different line, but I think the blue line is the
Right.
potable there.
Because it looks
that
like it's on
runs
the
right
other
across.
side of 21. So I guess that's what I'm trying to see is how we, and this might be not a question for this
This will have to be
moment.
something they'll be responsible for to cross that as.
Okay,
as
so
the
they
developer.
would pay for, cover whatever infrastructure costs?
That's correct. At the time, Joe Pantier, Assistant City Manager, at the time of the development, the developer is responsible for connecting two utilities in that extension. They probably across 21 would have to jack and bore, which means essentially just tunneling, do a micro tunnel under the roadway as opposed to doing an open cut.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, let's go back to my question. Are we or are we not providing water today?
I believe we are. I'm really thinking about the wastewater. 'Cause
I think it's on septic today.
Yeah.
That was my guess, is
Right.
they had water from us, and they wanted wastewater, which I get that. So, okay, that answered that question. Okay, Mr. Pasek, you're next.
Quick question, where's the county line on that side of town? Again, real quick, just as a reminder and for education.
Nearby.
Yes, where exactly is that? I do not know exactly, but it's going to be,
I think the county line there parallels Highway 21.
Because I know Gary, Job Corps,
Except I'm
Caldwell.
not sure right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, right there. It may not come all the way down.
Mostly it's 21.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the second question is, so TxDOT's plan is to be there in perpetuity, or?
to redevelop and continue with their maintenance. There's a small maintenance facility there. Our understanding is they're going to do some expansion out there. To what scope and scale, I don't know that we know that yet.
Yeah, my only comment is, it's prime real estate too, you know. It's a major thoroughfare amongst the region, just something to consider for the future.
Any others? Okay, so I guess, Mr. Trevino, we're ready to vote? Push button.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, moving on to item 15.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against Resolution 2026-46R, approving a budget policy statement for preparation of the 2026-2027 fiscal year budget and declare an effective date, and consider approval of Resolution 2026-46R.
Thank you again, Mayor, City Council, John Locke, Finance Director. Next slide, please. We'll begin the presentation by taking a look at the fiscal year 2027 budget calendar. As you can see that we've already had, and as you know, City Council visioning in the strategic planning work session. That was held at the end of January, and the budget policy workshop was held last month. This evening is when we'll hold a public hearing on the budget policy, and then the City Council will consider adopting that budget policy, and that's the document that the city manager and staff will use in building the fiscal year 27 budget. You can see the remaining items, just some of the key dates in fiscal year 2027. Just a couple to point out. We touched on earlier that property tax is the largest revenue source in the general fund. We'll receive the preliminary tax roll on April 30th. Up until now, all we're using is estimates on what we think that might look like. On April 30th, we'll actually receive the preliminary roll. And by July 25th, we will receive the certified roll. And that's typically when 95% of the values of the tax roll are certified. After, on August 18th, after receipt of that certified roll, is when the budget will be presented to City Council. And City Council will also set a maximum tax rate for the year. And then on September 1st and September 15th, there'll be multiple public hearings, where 2 on the budget and 2 on the tax rate. Next slide, please. This slide provides some of the budget public engagement opportunities that have already been held. There have been community town halls on visioning and priorities. Those were held in January. The council visioning and strategic planning work session, again, in January. The participatory budgeting launched the idea collection on February 1st, and that closed on February 28th. During that time, there was some community outreach that included tabling and bingo. And the budget policy workshop was at the end of February. Next slide, please. These are some of the upcoming public engagement opportunities. The participatory budgeting, the proposal development phase of that will begin in April. Community members were asked if they would be willing to volunteer when they submitted their project idea, and there were a total of 62 volunteers during that process. So city staff will provide the technical support, and then we'll have those 62 volunteers that will also help during that phase of the participatory budgeting process. There is a portion of the budget that will be covered at University, and that's just in a couple of days. We'll have the State of the City address. There are a total of 3 community town halls, and those town halls are just going to cover some key aspects of the budget. One of those will be Zoom, and 2 will be in person. There will be SMTX 2026, and then the proposed and adopted budget. Again, there will be multiple public hearings and an opportunity for the citizens to comment on the budget during that process. Next slide, please. The city charter requires city council to hold the budget policy workshop no later than February 27th. And as we touched on earlier, that was held on the 26th. Again, during the workshop, the council received a presentation and provided direction for developing the fiscal year 2027 budget policy statement. And the city charter requires a public hearing and approval of that statement by March 31st each year. The approved budget policy statement will guide the city manager in preparing the upcoming fiscal year 2027 budget. Next slide, please. The next few slides will just go through the different sections of the budget policy statement and outline the changes that were made. The first in fund balance, and it's to establish a fund balance requirement for the airport. The current fund balance as of fiscal year 26 is $207,000, or 84 days of cash on hand. And the proposed fund balance requirement for this fund is to maintain 60 days of recurring operating expenses, which would be $147,000. Next slide, please. Continuing with, or moving on to revenues. In terms of the property tax rate, the guidance received from City Council was to keep the tax rate at the current rate of 65.15. And in terms of property taxes generated at the airport is to identify the appropriate time for utilizing those property tax revenues generated for airport operations in fiscal year 2028. Originally, we were going to look at that in fiscal year 27. Due to the projected shortfall, we're moving that to fiscal year 2028. Next slide, please. Moving on to expenditures. Increase total personnel costs for non-civil service employees by 3% for an estimated cost of $1.3 million in the general fund and $785,000 across all other funds in the city. And civil service employees, which is police and fire, will receive the pay increases that were approved by City Council as part of the meet and confer agreements. For health insurance, the increased health insurance contribution recommendations are still being finalized, and those will be brought back once they're complete. And as a reminder, the forecasted general fund shortfall of $4 million does not include the additional funding for emergency medical services. Next slide, please. These are the list of the fiscal year 27 planning considerations, expenses that were discussed during the budget policy. Most of these expenses that the general fund needs to absorb are due to the expiring federal funding, the ARPA dollars. All of them except for the second one, the citywide software allocation. And as a reminder, that citywide software allocation is moving from allocating the citywide software from a third to general fund, a third to water, wastewater, and a third to electric, to allocating it more based on the benefit received by each one of those funds. In total, it's $1 million that would be moved to the general fund, and the proposal is to do that over a course of 4 years. All of these expenses that total $1.1 million are included in that estimated $4 million shortfall in the general fund. Next slide, please. In the hotel occupancy tax fund, we're going to continue allocating funding for historical restoration and preservation projects based on capacity up to $500,000. And that's the estimated amount that state law will allow, which is 15% of the hotel tax revenues. And review how other cities use hotel tax revenue to financially support City Council policy objectives without relying on the general fund, and create policy recommendations for allocating hotel tax revenue by percentages to support City Council policy objectives. Next slide, please. In the Community Enhancement Fund, increase operating revenues for contracted services up to $250,000 annually to take over maintaining the Highway 123 and the I-35 plantings. And budget one-time uses of fund balance for improvements along I-35 at approximately $75,000 and fencing the Sunset Acres at approximately $250,000 to $300,000. And the next steps from here is there will be a neighborhood commission meeting on April 15th. Again, the preliminary tax roll is April 25th, and the next budget workshop is May 19th. And at that workshop, we'll be able to provide the results of the preliminary tax roll and give an update of where the general fund is. That concludes the presentation.
Mr. Locke, at that May 19th work session, that's when we're also going to give council more information about the community benefit fee for
Yes.
utilities as well, correct?
Thank you, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So if you have concluded your presentation, I must now hold a public hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I now open the public hearing on the budget policy statement. Anyone wishing to speak for, against, or about? Now's the time, if you'll approach the podium and give your name and your address. Going once, twice, 3 times. I will close the public hearing, and I will await a motion from the council. I hear Mr. Scott saying so moved. I hear Ms. Rodriguez with the second. And so it is now time for questions, comments, concerns. Anyone? Okay. In that case, Mr. Trevino, if you will activate the voting buttons. Oh, I see you already have. Thank you.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, on to item 16, next public hearing.
Hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against ordinance 2026-10, amending the project plan and reinvestment zone financing plan for the tax increment reinvestment zone number 5 downtown Terrace to increase funding in support of an annual downtown operations and project plan. Authorize city manager or designee to execute the amendment on behalf of the city, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date and consider approval of ordinance 2026-10 on the first of 2 readings.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mayor and City Council. There isn't a presentation, but just by way of an introduction to the public hearing. On February 12th, the Downtown Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, or TERS as is commonly referred to, Board approved an amendment to the zone's project plan and reinvestment zone financing plan. The amendment increased the budget by $200,000 for downtown lighting project, which covers installing 25 Cobra headlights across 9 alleys on existing poles that do not currently have lights, adding 11 solar lights across 5 alleys. An example of the new solar light was recently installed at the Price Center. And performing a feasibility study to determine the feasibility and cost of rope lighting on Boyhood Alley. The next agenda item that City Council will consider after the consent agenda item is ordinance 2026-11, and that is associated with this item. It is the amending the city's budget for $200,000 for the downtown lighting project. Another substantive change to the plan amendment is a statement that the board approves zone revenue to pay for ongoing maintenance within the zone as identified in the annual cost table. And the downtown lighting maintenance is identified as a board-approved maintenance cost. The state law requires a public hearing be held prior to the amending of the zone's project plan and reinvestment zone financing plan. And that concludes the introduction to the public hearing.
Thank you. So I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak for, against, or about. And I believe, is Mr. Baker online? Okay. All right. So in that case, anyone else? Going once, twice, 3 times? I will close the public hearing and I will
Motion to
await
approve.
a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Paselk. Are there any questions? I have an amendment to propose. It's very simple. We had the meetings, and then someone was working on this, and I think they were working on it in February. So it's got February on the plan. Is this now when I should make that, or later?
No.
Okay, so my only request was to just change it from February and call it March 31st, because I know at home when I'm finding stacks of things and I go, gee, I wonder what meeting I can go back and find information about that. So I think putting March 31st on here might not help us today, but it might in the future. Otherwise, I'm going to be looking for something February. I just think they should match up.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, thank you. And I don't have anything else. Any questions on that amendment? If not, we'll vote on that amendment first. Mr. Vigneault?
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, any further questions on the plan?
No, I just want to, I want to thank everybody who was involved, the TERS board, myself, Mayor, Commissioner Inglesby, Judge Becerra, Kyle, I always get his last name wrong.
Milius.
But also Main Street, Josie Foletta with Main Street, and our new Helen Ramirez, local economic, there you go. Yes, it's been a pleasure working with you. It's been a pleasure working with all of y'all.
Yes.
I've learned a lot, and I think our downtown, both the businesses and people alike, are going to really benefit from these infrastructure improvements, so.
And we
Thank
had
you.
our first joint meeting with the Main Street Board, which we will have more, which is important because we have the money in the TERS, and the Main Street Board that's comprised of our businesses and other people, very knowledgeable about downtown.
Right.
and
Oh, I
they
guess
had
Downtown Association as well.
Ideas, and Downtown Association was, I believe, invited. So anyway, that was good. We will meet with those groups in the future. And so I think we're moving in the right direction on that. Mr. Locke, could you in just a sentence or two explain what the TERS is, or where the money comes from and why it's being limited to downtown?
Sure. A tax increment reinvestment zone, when the zone is first formed, there's a base value there. And so the general fund will continue to receive the tax revenues from that base value. What the zone captures is the incremental value. So any new value that's added to the zone after it's created will go and it's restricted for use for the intended purpose, and it has to be used within the boundaries of the zone, which in this, for this particular reinvestment zone is downtown.
Downtown and then plus some, and this was created in 2011. And so I think during the COVID years, we dropped that percent down. But anyway, that's what puts the money into it. The money is being generated by the downtown.
Yes.
And is being spent in the downtown.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And at a later meeting, Mayor, Ms. Ramirez does plan to do her economic development kind of strategic plan, as far as the things that she and her team have been working on. Downtown vitality is one of the big components that they're working on, is something that is important. And so we'll be talking about what some of that stuff is that they're looking at. They're doing some local surveys to really understand for local businesses what some of their pain points are and things like that. And then we will be looking at what are the kind of the types of businesses and things that we want to see downtown, so that we can try to work on recruitment of things like that in our downtown. So just wanted to mention that.
Yep, that's important. So, any other questions on item 16? If not, we will vote. Hold on,
I think you already voted, Mayor. So, Missy,
they're not blinking.
oh, hold on, Mayor. Wrong mouse. There it goes. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And now we will go back to the item from consent that we pulled, which was item 13. Ms. Trevino, would you read that in the record, please?
Consider approval of Resolution 2026-45R, approving the reallocation of $325,000 in funds received by the City of San Marcos under the American Rescue Plan Act to support the recovery of the community from COVID-19, authorizing the city manager or her designee to execute any related documents and declare an effective date.
Okay, I need a motion.
To approve.
Have a motion from Ms.
Second.
Rodriguez. I heard Mr. Scott second that. He seconded it first. And then, Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. It's on, but can y'all hear? It's on? Okay.
I know I've had trouble with that too. I don't know if the volume's not up very high in here or whatever, so.
I don't know, I haven't got a text from the mom saying she can't hear, so I guess it's good. Yeah, Hayden, real quick, for the public, you sent us an email. We talked last time as a body about some other potential uses in addition to some of the recommendations, so Operation Triage, Mission Able, and one of those being BR3T. And so I know we got an email that some potential funds may become available. And so it's more of just a question on procedure. I understand that we can address that in a future meeting, but I'm just wondering right now, what's in our purview to sort of pre-dedicate that funding should it become available at the moment?
Hayden Meagle, Director of Administrative Services. You can give me that direction. I think right now,
Okay.
we do still need to bring forward an item to officially do that. We want to
Sure.
make sure, especially since these are federal funds, just so that we have all those Ts crossed and all the Is dotted. But if you give me that direction, I was honestly planning on bringing forward an item at the April 7th meeting next Tuesday to reallocate some additional funding that has been made available. It's about 42,000. And our recommendation was going to be that that goes to BR3T.
Okay, so in my, I guess, motion, you're comfortable with the invocation of the dollar amount? Or should we leave that?
If you could leave that general,
Okay,
and because I'm not sure what the specific amount is, I
Okay.
want to verify that and make sure that I get that all
So-
set for the caption.
I'll make a motion that should funds become available, that those funds be distributed to BR3T for the sake of, the program was eviction and
It was
rental assistance?
rental and utility
Rental and
assistance.
utility assistance.
Yes.
That's my motion.
Okay, I have a section for Mr. Scott, but Mr. Gary, would we be better off waiting until Mr. Meagle brings this back so that it would have been in our agenda packet? We'll get to the same place because we can't approve it today. We're really kind of showing a
And I'm fine with that.
preference.
Yeah, I'm fine with it if we need to wait.
Yeah, I think that would be more consistent since he's coming back with specific
Yeah.
allocations at that
We
time.
can do it either way.
Yes.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
either way.
Either way is fine.
So I think what we're looking for is to see if people are generally accepting of that concept so that that's what comes back, and I'm seeing yeses.
Yes, thank you
And-
for
and-
listening to my constant rants that we need more rental assistance.
And the nice thing with that is that council has already approved a
Yeah.
greater amount for that contract with BR3T, so as soon as that's allocated,
Yeah.
we can provide it to them.
Okay.
Straight up.
All right. Thank
So
you,
that
Hayden,
will
for
be-
everything. Always a pleasure.
Only thing I wanted to say, Mayor, is I wanted to commend Mr. Meagle.
I was
He-
gonna do that as soon as we voted.
Well, he won't obviously say or sing his own tune, but he's been working with a consultant who has also complimented how great our stuff is and compared to some of the other cities that they're working with. The fact that we've spent down the funds, we've been managing things, and it's been very, very clean in
Yes.
terms of how we've handled it. So I just want to give him a huge shout out because he took this on after the last finance director left, and this was another duty as assigned, and
Yes.
he has done an amazing job. So just want to acknowledge that.
Yes, great job, and thanks to everyone who has been doing their part to make
Yes,
sure
ma'am.
that we
I was
keep up
just
with
about to say,
everything.
it wasn't just me. It's really been a number of staff.
Well,
And
it takes a good ringleader.
Yeah,
I
thank you
agree.
for all the Excel sheets and the attachments and every time we had questions and progress reports
Yeah, it's great.
and the way that you organize it all. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you okay withdrawing your motion for now, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have are there any other questions, thoughts? Okay. I have a motion by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Scott, and we're ready to vote. The lights are blinking. Gosh, I'm almost going to be sad when we get to after December 31st and we won't have ARPA dollars. We won't have ARPA dollars, but won't have it on our agenda anymore. Okay, so we are now to our, what we call the non-consent agenda, and item 17, Ms. Trevino.
Consider approval of ordinance 2026-11 on the first of two readings, amending the city's 2025-2026 fiscal budget to adjust expenditure accounts for the tax increment reinvestment zone number 5, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Scott. Are there any questions? This is the other half of the thing we just had the public hearing on. Questions? None? We will vote then.
Alrighty. The motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Mendoza absent.
Okay, item 18.
Consider approval of ordinance 2026-14 on the first of two readings, amending Chapter 82, Article 4, Division 4 of the San Marcos City Code regarding parking citations by mail to define residents who are exempt from parking fees within city parking lots, providing a savings clause, providing for the repeal of any conflicting provisions, and declare an effective date.
Looking for a motion? I hear
Second.
a motion from Mr. Scott and a second from Mr. Paselk. I have one or two amendments. I don't remember what it ended up being. I'll give you all a moment to think. Did you have a presentation of any type? Or are you just there to handle stuff as we get to it?
Yes, ma'am. Jamie Lee Case, Director of Parks and Recreation, just here to answer any questions council may have.
Okay, then if we can get my First Amendment on the screen. And I will tell you that I was concerned with calling residents, with using the term resident to talk about city and school and 78666. Because so often we say resident means a city resident, especially when we're talking about boards and commissions. And my concern was if we came in and kind of redefined those, that could cause problems in other areas, not for this, but in other areas where someone could come in and say, well, this says I'm a resident, and it becomes an issue we don't need to deal with. So Ms. Case or someone in her department came up with a much better suggestion than what I had, which is local area participant. I'm not saying change anything in what we're doing. We're just not going to use resident in a way that can come back and bite us later on.
Second.
So, thank you. And this is one motion. So, thank you for that second. Hold on, I've got to write it down in the right place. Are there any questions?
Kind of, but not really.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay. And I'm looking to see if this is the one that I had another amendment on, or was the,
Managed
I didn't bring my paperwork with me.
I think that's the next one, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's all I had on this one. And I believe that staff has brought back to us exactly what we said we were looking for, and that's great. So, Ms. Rodriguez.
I have an amendment.
Sure.
Under section 82198, the general provisions, subsection E.
What page are you on, ma'am?
It is the second page of the ordinance. It is 759 of the packet.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And while I'll read it, it's just a small, so it says, the registered owner of the motor vehicle shall have 15 days to address the citation in the manner prescribed in Division 1 of this article. Failure to answer the citation or appear within 15 days is considered an admission of liability. My motion is to amend to define it as business days.
Are there any questions? Are there any concerns from staff on that one?
Business days, I think, works better.
Is there any reason with what the software can't do, or anything else that we need to be aware of?
Okay. Hi there, Jessica Ramos, Assistant Director of Parks and Rec. So on this part, that is something I will have to ask the software company if that is something they can accommodate, because I'm not sure if they designate business days versus non-business days in their system.
So could we go ahead and let council make the change, if that's what they choose, and then we can bring it back before second reading if there's anything, and we can check with the
Yeah, I
company.
can absolutely get an answer.
Yep.
And I do
Because we
apologize.
may have a holiday they don't have or something, so.
Right. Yeah, I do apologize not getting that to you before, and I'm just seeing it now highlighted, so.
Okay, so we'll go with it, and y'all will check, and if we need to change it back, let us know.
Yes, ma'am. And City Marshal Williams did let me know that they're looking at broadening that across the entire Chapter 82, not
Yes.
just for paid parking. The Parking Advisory Board is currently looking at broadening that.
Because I know
in
that
a
was
whole.
a conversation we had in a separate.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I just wanted to reference that as well.
And this is chapter 82, so it would be in here, but, you know, maybe instead of 15, you say 17 if you want to give those extra days
If
for the
business days is not
Right. But we
plausible,
are
yes.
looking at a full-blown review. So, but we can do this for now. So let's vote on,
So, Mayor, I'm sorry, I just had
Yes,
one
sir.
quick question.
Go ahead.
And it's probably just me overthinking everything, but it's stating the registered owner has to address the citation. Would that bar someone else from
The
addressing the
cita-
citation?
No, sir, the citation by mail is mailed to the registered owner of the vehicle.
I think the.
But anybody can pay it, or is that what you're?
Well, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So like, let's say so it goes by mail to, and I'm thinking the situation where like a parent is a registered owner, a student has the vehicle. So citation goes to parent, student goes and pays the citation or whatever, but technically the registered owner still didn't address it. So does that then, the way it's worded, admit guilt, even though it's already been paid? I know it's kind of like a circular argument. but
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that because it's not a criminal
Okay.
citation. It's basically a fee that needs to be collected. And so and it's gonna go to the registered owner anyways. So one or the other, they've gotta be responsible even if they loan the car out to their child. So.
No, I understand that. What I'm saying is like from a strict, like technical legal reading of it, because the registered owner isn't the one that addressed it, even if the ticket was paid, would the way it's written mean that since the registered owner didn't answer, that they are admitting liability?
he's not talking about the process, he's talking about the specific wording, and is that going to come back and bite somebody? Is
Mr.
that
Gonzalez?
something that y'all could look at before the next
Happy
reading,
to look at
please?
it, but yeah, I'm
Okay.
not particularly concerned, but we'll look at it.
We need to stick in there, payment will be accepted from anybody. We can, you know, if we have to do that, we'll just do that, because I suspect y'all will.
Oh, no, I was just, I was fine entertaining a separate motion, but I was just saying I was gonna ask for the sake of process, is if it was germane to the current amendment, the resident or registered owner. So I didn't know if you were gonna propose an amendment, but I was gonna say, let's get this one first and then we can do that one. If you
Oh
want
darn, I
to.
thought we had voted on this one. You're right, it's not relevant to the 15 days, so let's vote on the business days, knowing that this could change, but staff will let us know. Ms. Ms. Garza.
The motion passes 7-0.
I looked down and I saw a vote, and it was
No, it's
from mine
okay, because
earlier.
I do hear the.
Yeah, no, I
concern.
get where he's coming
Yeah.
from, but, you know,
I also, did you have an amendment, Mr. Gonzalez, or no?
I mean, not if it doesn't make a difference, because I wouldn't even know how to reword it, and
well, then let's not spend time
Yeah.
today, and we've got a second reading.
I think we can come up with something. We have had instances where there's private sales of vehicles, and those sellers that previously held the ownership of the vehicle received a citation. There is a process through the county office as well as DPS office with paperwork being filed, and in those instances, those sellers have been able to provide us with the required legal paperwork to make them not liable.
Yep.
And so, you know, I can work with Mr. Aguirre on something
Okay.
to bring back.
Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. A question. So when we talk about the signs that are posted currently, am I correct to remember that they are in English and Spanish?
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to just codify that while we have the ordinance in front of us. So I'm actually going to bring up, because I'm reading it now, section 82.199, that's still page 759, under paid parking lots. There is a subsection B, where it says the city shall post signs in a conspicuous location at the entrance of each paid parking lot to indicate the required fees to park. My amendment would be that we codify English and Spanish, that should be in English and Spanish, if that's a practice we already do.
Yes, ma'am.
So your amendment would be where it says shall post signs, we insert the words in English and Spanish, pick up with in a conspicuous location?
I would say after a comma, after conspicuous location in English and Spanish, comma, at the entrance of each page.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So that is your amendment. I will second that. And I think that this is something that Mr. Mendoza, let's remember on Parking Advisory Board, if there's other places to catch that, or if there's a place to just say all signs will be in one place, then we'll figure that out. But yes, we got your point. I agree. So we will continue on, and Ms. Ms. Trevino has set us up to vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay.
And one more, I'm sorry. But now, since we approved your initial amendment in subsection C, after the one we just touched, it also uses the word residence. So I'm not sure if the initial amendment, did it capture every
I had like
use?
5 places that
Okay.
we're
Okay.
fixing it in, and if I missed one,
We'll find it.
yeah,
Okay,
I've got it,
cool.
caption, recital definitions, paid parking lots, and E twice.
Perfect, yes. Yes.
I use that search feature. Okay, so are we ready to vote on this one? Not seeing any hands raised to speak.
Motion passes 7-0.
All righty, and you know what? It's 7:26, it's time for a break. So we will have a break. Let's see you back here at 7:35. I call back to order this meeting of the San Marcos City Council. We are back at 7:37, and I believe we are on item 19.
Consider approval of ordinance 2026-13 on the first of 2 readings, adopting fees to be changed for managed access to Rio Vista Park from Memorial Day through Labor Day, including weekends and holidays, with exemptions from such fees for residents and those who reside within the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District boundary, providing a savings clause, providing for the repeal of any conflicting provisions, and declaring an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Scott to approve, with a second by Mr. Mendoza. Ms. Case, anything to bring forward to us other than what's in the packet?
Everything is in your packet.
Okay, and I think I have a motion to amend on this one. And here it is, and the reason for this, although we do need to fix it in a way, but I think we'll get there. Several times back, we said we don't want fees and ordinances anymore. And so my suggestion is to take it out, but as Ms. Case said, but we need to adopt it some way, somehow. So when I was talking to Mr. Meagle about setting up this amendment for display, he said that the fee schedule, the part of the fee schedule that includes this fee and some other things are coming to us in,
I think April
I think it's
21st
either
is
April
what he had
21st
said.
or May 7th, either one.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have enough time to implement,
Yeah.
because we have a pretty tight turnaround already.
So my question to you, Mr. Aguirre, is what is the best way to,
So I did see your proposed amendment, and so we could do it this way, but my only comment kind of ties in with Ms. Case's is that if we do it now, this can be implemented by next week.
Okay.
Because it would be second reading versus waiting. That
Okay.
would be the only difference.
so here is what I'm going to ask, is that I won't make this proposal, but either in the information or maybe on the Exhibit A form, and we can talk about how to do this before the next one, that on the bottom of that page, that it says, this is the initial fee. You know, it could change as the city changes fees, and the current fee can be found and show where that fee schedule is. And that will cover it, because at some point, if it changes, I don't want this to come back to haunt us, because somebody's saying, well, this is what the fee is. What do you mean you changed it? Where is it? So I just want to make sure that we're covered, and I'm fine in waiting until the next time we see this to make that change, or we can do it now. I don't care which. I'm just trying to keep from having a future problem.
Right,
So-
I hear you. I think we can actually do that in this ordinance, in the little table. We could indicate that it's the initial fee. Whoops, I'm looking in the wrong place. I'm looking at my screen.
Maybe if it's something, Sam, that says like
Anything.
subject to change as part of the ordinary like fee,
Fee
Yeah.
update or
fee,
fee
fee,
review.
annual fee review or something like that.
Yeah, and also the way this particular ordinance was drafted, it's basically amending the table. So that's where it's going to be found eventually, is the table anyways.
Right.
So,
I just want that to be said in here so that this doesn't come back to haunt us.
okay, we can do that in second reading and just bring it back that way if
Okay.
there's no objection
Council,
from
are
the
y'all good
council.
with that? I'm not changing it or anything, I just want to make sure I'm looking to the future. Okay, then,
Works for me.
I'm not going to make that amendment, and we will continue on. Council, anything else we need to talk about, Ms. Rodriguez? Or other amendments, whatever it is we need to talk about?
I'm just trying to understand process. So I see in our packet that it's mentioned that staff cannot currently collect or store cash in the park at this time.
Correct.
So walk me through. Somebody gets to the gate. I'd like to understand the perspective of somebody who is a resident and who's not a resident, and what that's going to look like.
Sure. So someone that is a resident, they'll be free 7 days a week, 365. They can either, and there will be a little bit of discretion as we educate people, just like what we did last year as well, sans fee. If someone's a resident, we would roll out kind of a resident river pass, or whatever term we want to call it. Because if we expand to include, and I believe Mayor Houston wants to include all of the local area participants perhaps, like we did for paid parking. So title will change, but they could either have their resident river pass, which could be displayed on their phone, or if they print it out, whatever, or they could show a proof of address, whether that's a expanded library card or an ID for residents.
And so somebody would have to have something on their person, those I think it's 5 or 6 items that verify residency. I'd have to have that on my person if I go up to the gate, and let's just say I walk from the Rio Vista neighborhood, want to go inside, and I don't have those things on my person, but I tell the person I am a resident. What would happen in that case?
I can't really say. I feel like if they go on a Saturday and Sunday, I mean, I don't know how to answer.
If they have an alternative form of identification, would we just take that as long as it showed a San Marcos address?
Yes, as long as, but if they don't have any of the 5, I mean, if they have something to say that they reside in San Marcos, then absolutely, we would be like, oh, I mean, that's where the discretion comes in. We're not trying to make it overly punitive by any means for someone that's wanting to come in, that's a resident that's wanting to come into the park on a Saturday or Sunday.
And this hypothetical I ask because I talked with some residents in the Rio Vista neighborhood who viewed this from a different light. And that hypothetical on, hey, I'm just leaving, want to go to the river, don't have anything on me, just want to go in, that's a normal thing they do. I imagine that's going to happen. And so when we talk about the rollout discretionary phase, yes, this is managed access in terms of fees for non-residents, non-local area participants, and that money's encumbered, and I get that. And while uncomfortable for me, I understand it given the financial situation that we're in. But by doing this, we can't say that it doesn't affect residents as well, though, because currently, I can just go in. Should it be a Saturday and Sunday, I can just go in. That is a normal practice. By doing this now, we are creating some barrier, if I don't have those 6 forms of identification for residents, inadvertently affecting them too. So I guess I'm trying to understand, while we're in this initial rollout phase process, should those seemingly inevitable situations arise, how we plan to handle them.
I'll have to bring you back a response because I'm unsure right now.
Let me ask a question related to that, because what it says is that you shall register with the city, and these are your 6 methods of doing that.
Correct.
If I register with the city, what is it that I get?
It would be a river pass.
Okay, and so that I could keep on my phone or whatever?
Phone, or if you want to print it out or whatever. I mean,
Okay.
laminate it, I don't know.
Okay, and so what you're speaking about is if someone doesn't know to do that, and then they show up at the river, but and I'm going to make an amendment.
Which happened at City Park.
Sure, and I'm going to propose an amendment to include the 78666 like we did for the parking here shortly. So then, would a driver's license with a San Marcos address suffice?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's on the documents. I guess what I'm trying to understand, though, is pre-registration always required? That pass that we're talking about? Because I see on not in the actual ordinance, but I see in the background and purpose, online purchasing or the QR code scanning at the access point.
Yes, ma'am.
So at that point, if I have my phone, I scan it, and that process can happen at that
Yes,
that
ma'am,
juncture?
immediately. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My concern, Mayor, is just that
You show up with
should
your
people
house
not
key.
have that? And they're like, wait, I gotta walk all the way back home? And so, again, I'm trying to understand how we plan to address that, should that
I think
arise.
part of the solution to that is going to be communication and messaging. I've got a note here on my deal is, can we use some of our message boards to start letting people know, that's probably already in your plan, I'm sure, to use the message boards to let people know in advance, you know, what they can do. And so hopefully we'll reach most people.
Because it's just those
that
36
way.
days, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
For the 2026 season?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see how we communicate that as soon as possible to let people know.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Mendoza's next.
Mayor, when we had our meeting in the Rio Vista neighborhood that had East Guadalupe and Rio Vista, when we had it in 2022, I'm sorry, 2023, beginning of 2023.
At the activity center?
No, this was at IVARS.
Okay.
Everybody was under everybody voted, everybody said, this is the way we want to do it. And that was everybody that was there, and there was about maybe 85 people.
This is the way we want to do it. What is
Exactly.
this? Define this.
Referring to, we want this implemented, we want fees, but they all came to it as, well, like I said, the argument is, well, I don't have a license. And everybody there says, well, we all have our phones. That's how we came to this, that was the most. Now, I don't think we should disturb the whole thing, especially being in the Rio Vista neighborhood. We all know we were there. We were there, we were in the meetings, and I am talking to people daily. My neighbors that are there walking from my side all the way over there, and they are pushing for this. So I don't think we should disturb everything or make it an issue for the small percentage that is going to be deeply affected by this by that 1 or 2 times. Again, both neighborhoods have come out, and both neighborhoods have easily said they understand the rules, they understand what they have to do. They were the ones pushing for
Okay, we
the
got
park.
it. You
So
said it.
I'm just
And
pushing
Mr.
again,
Mendoza,
that's what they were saying.
I haven't proposed an amendment, made a
Sure.
motion to do so, so the disruption that you're talking about, the disturbance, I'm not sure where that's coming from. These are genuine questions. Because I can tell you, I talked to people off of Field Street,
Sure.
which is in your neighborhood.
Mhm.
They had not heard from you nor spoken to you. And so that's why I'm bringing these questions now, is because I don't know how to answer these questions.
That's fair.
Should I have to? And I want to be able to provide a response. I just don't know how to do it, because I don't know how this process is gonna
And I
work. So that's
wish-
why I
No,
asked the
no,
question.
and this is what I'm saying out there, and I can tell you time and
I
time
have
again.
made no
we have
amendment
had-
to this. None, I know this is gonna happen because it happened with City Park. And that little disturbance of peace while only social media, I'm trying to see how we can avoid some of that, because ultimately, it's y'all's department that fields it. And that's not fair either. If we have an opportunity to sort of have this as a discussion right now on how we're gonna best communicate this, I think it's incumbent on us, so they don't have to be the ones to field it. Because I know Ms. Ramos, I see her constantly on Facebook, and it's much appreciated after hours fielding these questions. I'm trying to see how we prevent that
Okay.
as much as possible.
Can I do my amendment first, which may help a little bit, which is to also include city, school, and those in the 78666 area, because we didn't do the 78666 with this one. We did with the paid parking, we didn't with the managed access. And I think we have said we want to do the same thing, but we didn't get that done here. So this is what I am asking, and I think I took the wording either from here or somewhere else. And so and to use the phrase local area participant, since if we do this, it's going to be the same people. So did I strike out too much on this, Ms. Case? Let me know if I did.
Mayor, could we?
I think we're good. So this is my amendment, and basically what I'm doing is we're adding the 78666 people who are not city and not school district.
I'll second it, yeah,
Okay.
for just, when it opens discussion, I just have a question.
Okay, sure.
Given that we just, and I know it just happened, and it was on first reading, so if this isn't plausible, but is this the same language from the Section 82 ordinance that we just touched on?
I
When you
think I
say
did
copy and
that. That
paste?
was my intent.
I'm wondering, would it be sufficient to just cite that particular part of the ordinance rather than inserting all this language?
That's what it is.
I know, but that's what I'm saying, for the sake of just process, just reference the actual ordinance number.
It's a different ordinance,
It's a different
though.
ordinance.
This
So that one only applied to parking fees?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay.
Section 82 is about parking.
Okay, okay, that's what I'm trying to ask.
I
Okay.
would have done that. It's a good idea. I would have done that.
Okay.
But this is.
Yeah, I'm fine with it, if you're saying it's the exact same.
Yeah.
Mayor, the only thing that I noticed is that you strike with valid resident river pass issued by the city.
And that wasn't intentional.
Or with valid proof of address document.
I didn't, yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
would-
why I said, as I was looking at it, I thought, I think I struck
A
too
little
much.
too much.
Yeah,
So we need to put back in with valid resident river pass issued by the city or a valid proof of address document. That needs to be unstruck. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have to do a
That's-
motion to amend the amendment?
I'm
No,
just
I
going to
think she was
restate my
just-
motion, if Mr. Scott will accept.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, looking at it just now, I went, oh, yeah. Okay. So let's address this first, because now showing the driver's license with a 78666 will always work, whereas when we were talking about it before, it would not have. So that's why I wanted to get
Or
this clarity.
student ID or.
Yeah. Student IDs don't have addresses.
True, but it
University
would prove
students
that they're
don't.
in the school district.
Oh, ISD.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I
And a lot of
think
kids have
I did not include student ID. Youth are gonna be free, but if someone from Martindale or that little section of Maxwell that's in the school district, it'll be a little difficult if they show up with a driver's license. We're not really gonna have a way to verify, quickly.
But if it's the student, and the student has the ID and the parents are
Yes.
with them.
Then it's easy
it's
peasy.
Looking.
Correct.
Looking good.
Yes.
Okay, maybe we'll go back and add that to the list.
Yeah.
Okay, but we need to say SMC ISD, because when you said student, I immediately thought a
Texas
different type of
State.
student.
Yes, ma'am.
You worked there 33 years, it stays in your brain.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's take care of this amendment now, and if there's no further questions on this one, we'll vote on this and get that taken care of.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. And so, Ms. Rodriguez, would you like to make a motion to add to Section 3, currently the 6 items that are, this says.
Could I suggest something?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to work for that section, so I'm thinking
Could
through.
it be, I'm looking at number 1 on that list, 1 through 6, and the first one is valid driver's license. And the comment about the student ID got me thinking, well, some folks actually just have a government ID,
Right.
not a driver's license. So if we add,
make it more-
if we made it valid
Yes.
driver's license or government-issued ID card, and that would encompass student ID cards, it's the thought.
Second. I'm
Yes.
just kidding. I know you can't make the motion.
And it also covers our What is it, community enhanced library cards?
That's already in there, though, 5. I'm
Yes,
gonna make
but we
a,
just have to remember, there's two things that we need to know. Basically, what we need is the address, and if you have something that has just an address on it, like a utility bill or a lease or something, we've got, that's gonna have your name, then we got to have photo ID to prove that it's you who's showing the lease in order to do this registration thing.
So you need your, a photo ID regardless.
Right, so that's where like the enhanced library ID, working with a lease or working with a utility bill gets you where you need to go if you don't have the driver's license. So sometimes, but that's what it says, shall register with the city and provide proof of address verifiable through one of the following, and then they've got the other, yes, Ms. Rodriguez?
just a question. So I get these are applicable for, and I'll make that motion because I like it, but before doing that, so the applicable forms of identification, those apply for the pre-registration process, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if I don't pre-register and I show up and I say, hey, I'm a resident, I have my ID, here you go.
Yep.
Do I still have to do the whole QR code thing, or that's sufficient in that moment?
That would be sufficient in that moment. We would then provide, some education on, hey, if you plan to, come back, here's some information for you to register. Great thing is that we've, the technology that we are looking at, if someone already has a city park paid parking permit or an activity center membership, the system will automatically have all that information. So they're not having to resubmit all of their, to be verified, because they've already passed, all of that. So it will just be an issuance, since it's verifying against, that they already have those issued permits.
Okay, because I'm wondering if we need to specify that in here, at least, I don't expect it now, but because this section 3 really reads as if it's only speaking about the pre-registration process, not the at-the-gate process. And so if that is the case, maybe we can codify that in the second reading. I don't expect us to do that right now, but maybe staff could bring some language back and council can decide at a later date if they're interested in that. And then my second question would be, I do appreciate that y'all listened to earlier discussions about the want on kids to be free. The 18 is the definition we have for children.
Yes.
My only question would be how we are discerning that. And so if I, maybe just look more mature, I'm tall, I'm like Stephanie's kid, 6 whatever, he's tall, and I pull up to the gate and I say, hey, I don't have any ID, but, I'm under 18, how would we handle those situations?
I think we have to take their word for it
Okay.
in that moment.
Okay.
There's no way to verify, and you don't,
Sure.
but to your point, I looked like I was 12 when I was 18, so,
Yeah.
I had the
It's
quite,
normally in
I
the-
had the quite
yeah.
opposite, effect, so.
But a student ID, public school ID could help.
Yeah.
If they had it.
So, Mayor, do we want, so with that being said, as far as section 3 is concerned, I would like to make a motion to clarify that language, the or government issued ID or whatever the language was, that was suggested.
Yeah.
But I'm also fine waiting till second reading if we want to wait until language in terms of codifying that at the gate process that we've already been discussing. Unless y'all want to do that at first on this reading.
No, I'm okay. Valid identification card, I think, leaves too much to the imagination. I think we need what you originally said was government issued.
Government issued
Yeah.
ID card.
Government
So-
or school issued?
Well, I say government because that would include school, or unless you're thinking of, private schools, that'd be a different, but that's not
No,
SMCISD.
but, I mean, it's the thing that you can get if you don't drive.
Yeah.
You don't have a
I-
driver's license and you can get the other
Yeah,
card.
I think that covers it first.
Okay. But one thing why this won't, well, the school ID, the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School ID is gonna need to be enough if they're not in the city of San Marcos. They're not gonna have 78666 on their address. So we need to kinda add that and fix that one in here that will help y'all accept that.
We can do that.
Yeah, because we're not talking about proof of address on those.
Correct, yeah, it's, and there's multiple cities, Staples.
Right.
Martindale.
That's what I mean.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why the ID card would be enough
Yes.
for them. Okay. Yes, ma'am. good? Okay.
You know, you could, since it's proof of address, sorry, Mayor, but going to your point, that's a good point, actually. You know, we've already defined it's going to be resident, but it's going to be that new term, residents include these folks.
Local area participant, and
so-
can we just
so
let
we'll
y'all fix
change-
that? For
Yes, ma'am,
yeah,
yeah.
Thank you.
So if we go there, could we just say, and provide proof of eligibility?
I like that better.
Verifiable through, because that, if you're a student, you don't have to show the address, you just show your
If you're
card.
a San Marcos School District.
Card.
That's why I think we need to just let y'all take this and figure out what to do on, and bring it back on the second reading and just flag those changes. Mr. Mendoza?
Mayor, just to point out for staff, Gary Job Corps and those residents out there, that's 78656 is a zip code.
Yeah, because it's not San Marcos.
Well, I know, but those are about as close as you can get to a large population of students that would definitely use our.
They're not going to be in town by themselves.
I
building
think they're in the
buses.
school district though, are they not?
Gary Job Corps?
It's their own.
Are you talking about people who live out
Yeah,
there?
I'm talking about the
Or
students that are
Job
there.
Corps
Just
students?
Job Corps students.
I don't think the Job Corps students are going to be in unsupervised.
They're allowed to be dropped off for the weekend under someone else's care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But you bring up an interesting point for the people who live there, but they're in the school district, so I think we'll be okay, but we need to know, I didn't realize that Job Corps had a different
I didn't
address.
either.
It's a
So we
Maxwell
can
address.
work with them, whenever we just have had discussions with, Parks Board. There was some conversations, not specifically about Gary Job Corps, but, kind of about a pass situation.
Right.
But we can communicate with Job Corps and
Okay.
work with them so that if they are, bringing their students to Rio Vista, because this is only for Rio Vista, this is
Right.
not for the rest of our riverfront parks. We can work with them to get them passes since they are
That's a
obviously
specific
residing.
group that you can talk to
Right.
somebody and they know each one of
Correct.
their students.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's going to be an easy one, however you
yes,
figure that one out,
yes.
in the grand scheme of things.
Yes, ma'am.
I actually had one more question.
Okay,
My
go ahead.
apologies. And this is actually to Mrs. Rodriguez's point. And my bad, because I forgot about it until right now. I was trying to push it. Some of my neighbors that live on Riverside and Riviera, some of them have children who are 8, 9, 10, 11 years old who aren't allowed to have cell phones. And this is where you were going with that. They have brought up the idea of, and how much would it cost for us to be able to have wristbands of some kind of form that these children could have on them to be able to walk in and out of that park without any kind of issues, because it's just right there, literally like a block away from some of these residents.
Are you talking about a temporary wristband
Or
or
some
one
of
of
these
those?
children that can have.
The little rubbery ones
Yes,
that you?
ma'am, something like that, like a Live Strong or something
That kind.
that they could use that's
They're
waterproof.
free, right? Do they have?
Yeah, the little kids are free.
The children are free.
Oh, I guess that, my bad.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about though,
So
like,
yes.
in the case that they go in first, they say, hey, I'm a kid, y'all let them in. At that point, are you saying they get a band?
No, no.
And
Or
then if
just
they
something can-
leave?
Well,
No.
I just don't want the kids to, or
But
even.
the kids are free, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
They don't need something special.
Mayor, I have
Free.
one for
But-
you.
Yeah. Well, the adults is the same thing as everybody else.
Because in terms of kids, it does not say in our ordinance that they would have to be accompanied by an adult to verify. So
Right.
the scenario you're talking about can still happen.
Right, where
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home to eat something real quick, and I'm gonna head back to see
Yeah.
my friends if
Yeah,
it's a
there's-
party or
yeah,
whatever
there's-
it is.
But if it's kids, if it's adults, then all this applies.
Okay, but yeah, kids,
And if
it's
it's
just gonna be.
children, they get in free.
Okay.
What is the example for when you mentioned like the school IDs? So that's like, I am a mom and my kiddo, like I live outside of San Marcos, but, we're an ISD family. So then, what would a caregiver have to give then? Like, I got my kid who has their ID, like what is?
That's it.
That's what I asked earlier.
Yeah.
If your
Oh.
child has
Yeah.
the school ID, and your government-issued ID doesn't say 78666, but you're with your child with a SMC ISD ID,
Right. I mean,
and then it's a conversation of, hey, buddy, if you'll register,
correct, but also we will be training, our park ambassadors. If they're Martindale, that's easy. Where it gets a little tricky is part of Maxwell, that is.
Yep.
And so that's where kind of that discretion comes in.
Right.
You
the
know,
big
not
part of
trying to.
Maxwell is
is-
Lockhart.
Correct, yeah. So it's not, at that point, that's where that discretion comes in and say, hey, here, just apply for your resident pass and not necessarily split hairs over, well, are you on this side of the Maxwell line? I mean, that's gonna be too complicated.
I think I would just ask if you all have the capacity, if you could, like, the folks, the park ambassadors or whatever, could be like taking some, like, notes on like some findings that stand out, like, how often is that situation happening, just so that
Yeah.
as we're trying out, it's a new process, so that we
Correct.
could reflect and pivot if
Yes, ma'am.
necessary. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
And
Even
there's-
through the managed access process, we were constantly evolving
Right.
and learning through that process what was working well, what we needed to tweak. And it was a constant growth opportunity for us as we learned.
What I'm hearing is
Will
just having
school-
regular communication and debriefs,
A-
you know,
absolutely.
to
District
understand.
policy
Yeah.
allow for them to send a message home, email to the parents to advise them of this? Because that would be,
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yes.
work
that
really
would be
closely.
telling a lot of
Andrew.
people.
Yes.
And Ms. Bonowitz has been listening to this, or Ms. Cisak
Yes.
has been listening to this. And so she did send me a message to say, that once we get through this, that she's definitely going to be working with Jamie Lee and her
Yes.
team to figure out what that messaging can look
Yeah.
like. And part of that can be working with our school
I think we need to let
communications
the
team.
Martindale City Council know.
So we can definitely work with Nadine and the team.
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez?
So yeah, I don't need to make this right now, if we still want to finalize language on this amendment. But when we talk about leaving staff with intent, this is going to be something I'm interested in next time, next reading for Section 3 specifically. I still think though we need two sections to be codified. That is a new section for what happens at the gate. So everything we just talked about, not being too, like, we need necessary discretionary language. So that's why I didn't want to, come up with language now and not give y'all an opportunity. But sort of, I want to know in here what happens at the gate, as we've already talked about. And then second, which I imagine y'all would do this anyway, but I just want to put it in the ordinance, would be, I don't know if it needs to be its own section or we can add to section 4 or another section, but a end of season report. The thing we're already talking about, I know y'all did it last time around.
We do it annually,
Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
so just making sure that that's written in here, just for future.
And some of the stuff we're talking about are probably more SOPs than they are like ordinance, but we can try to share that information just so that mayor and
And that's
council
fine,
have that as
wherever it's
well.
written down.
And just to make sure that it's somehow shared with y'all in terms of
Yeah,
what your
ultimately, in
intent is.
terms of ordinance need for, like codification, it's gonna be the eligible forms of identification at the minimum for me.
Yes,
If, what happens at the gate, that's standard operating procedure, I'm
ma'am.
okay with that.
Okay.
But the end of season, I would want that in the ordinance.
Yes, ma'am.
We're already doing it anyway.
Sure.
so.
And
Yes, ma'am.
just to understand, is this still moving forward, or are you
Yes.
holding off on? Right, so we should probably finish.
No,
Well, I was
this is
actually-
what y'all are going to work on before the next reading.
Okay, that's what I'm
We're not
saying.
going to wordsmith this now.
Okay, so, yeah, on the discretion, I agree with the city manager.
Yeah.
That kind of staff discretion at that level, it's hard to really encompass in an ordinance, because the whole idea of ordinance is the further down you go with staff,
Sure.
you try and eliminate discretion, because too much discretion
Right.
means it's not evenly applied to the public. So I think the procedures be a better way, and we could share them with council, but to put it in an ordinance gets tricky, because where do you draw that line on discretion?
Yeah,
Within
I'm
an ordinance,
100%
but
okay
we'll
with
work
that.
on that.
Well, and our history, whenever we've done new ordinances, whether it was the no texting before the state took that over, we give a grace period, sometimes a year. So I'm not saying don't charge this year, but I'm saying if somebody happens to
It's an educational,
get in
yes.
here and there. I have a question, Mr. Gary. This says it's going to be an ordinance, and what I like to do on my amendments, I like to go all the way back up to the section. There's no section that tells me where this is going to go in our code of ordinances, so if we could have that before next time
This
would
is-
be helpful. I don't know where this is going.
Right, this was actually the way it was proposed, again, because it was just, again, talking about fees.
Uh-huh.
It was not going to be a code, a codified ordinance in the code book, kind of like with
Well,
the
guess
previous
what?
item, but
Okay.
it's going to be in the parking fee ordinance.
Well, this is going to
And
be
this will be in the
parks.
admission.
No, I know where the other one is. It's chapter 82. I got that, because that's in there. But this, I mean, we're getting into, it says be ordained by section 1, section 2, section 3. We're defining things. So I don't see how this doesn't go into the code book, even though it was originally meant to just say,
As a fee.
establish some fees. But I think we need this
Well, it
somewhere.
would go, if it's going to go anywhere, the logical place would be chapter 58.
Correct, and
So-
the reason that you don't see any specific section is because
Yeah.
within, chapter 58, there's a provision that's specifically about fees for parks and recreation facilities. And it says, fees and charges, for the use of parks and recreation facilities are established by the city council. A schedule of the fees will be kept and maintained at the department offices. So, it's approved by you, there's not a specific,
Yeah.
but we can
But
find a
we've
section
got
for it to
so much
reside.
detail. I agree it goes in the park section, but if y'all could just figure out where that's gonna go, because we've got way too much detail. Otherwise, where does all this definition go?
We have a large reserved section that we could plug it into.
I think we're good. Okay, what was that, 58?
Yes, ma'am.
58, okay.
It would potentially be section 58.043.
Okay,
That's where you have a reserved,
okay.
Yes, sir.
okay.
Yep.
Thank
We can
goodness
work
for
on
those
that.
little reserve sections. Okay, anything else on this one? Then let's go ahead, we're gonna vote on what we had in front of us, plus we added the 78666, that's official. And then that will move it on to the next stage that will come back to us
Next Tuesday.
as second reading. Yeah, next Tuesday, so soon.
The motion passes 6-1 with Councilmember Rodriguez dissenting.
Okay, so moving on to item 20.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Consider nomination of the Economic and Local Business Development Director to serve on the Hayes Caldwell Economic Development Partnership Board.
So moved.
Second.
I heard Mr. Scott said second. Are there any questions? There's explanation in the agenda review form.
No, happy to have her.
Let's vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, now we're on to item 21.
Identify discussion topics for the Community Partnership Committee with the San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District and Hayes County.
So I just got tons of super helpful information and context that we didn't have access to before. So I don't know what the preferred move is for this council. I think it's like really important contextual information. Mayor, and I messaged this to Mayor just because she has that like historic knowledge, but also to Lorenzo, and I have to forward it to you, Liz, I'm sorry. But yeah, I wonder if we just postpone this until we can unpack all those documents. Does that make sense? Yeah, well, can I do that? Can I send it to everybody? Is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing. Oh, well, yeah, so it's,
But we're all
Okay.
gonna be making the decision of what goes on the list.
But if she
Right.
postpones, can she put it on the message board?
Well, that's a good idea.
Right. Yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah, I'll forward this to Liz, though, that way she, yeah.
Very important one, too.
Yeah, and I'll just say there was like a lot of work that went into when it first started up. Like they had all these like timelines and like I guess staff created like the strategic initiatives, comparing it to like different like collaborations that could possibly be explored with the ISD and the county. So yeah, I think it's worth all of us reviewing this since we're all gonna make the decision. And in the meanwhile, Liz can reach out to the other entities.
When do you want to put this back on?
I mean,
Let's not say next
Yeah.
meeting, because that's next week.
I'm I mean, it's not that much information to look through, but
Is it
if
ready-
y'all,
Is it ready to be distributed?
yeah, I think this is all we have, right, Stephanie? I think this is the, yeah.
So the posting
email
for
you
next week
sent?
is tomorrow of the
Yeah.
agenda, so that's the only issue, but
Yeah. I can't imagine you're gonna find a lot more information from what you, this is like a lot of information. I don't know.
Okay, I just didn't want to press
Yeah.
anybody, because like she says, it's gonna be,
Sorry, we can do it on the 7th, or we could do it on the 21st, whatever is council's prerogative.
I don't have a
I just want to give
preference.
staff the time to do what they need to do so we have what we need.
Gotcha. Sorry.
I think the only things we really need to do is just, if she gets it to you, so you can just disseminate to all mayor and council without a reply to all, and then if you, whatever you want to put on the agenda as backup, if you just want to let us know to go ahead and, do you want us to put the goals and the purpose and the strategic initiatives, just all of
Bylaws.
that attachment, just so we know?
Gotcha, yeah.
The bylaws and maybe one of the sample agendas that just kind of showed what that looked like?
Sure, yes. Yeah, I don't have a Lorenzo, you're the other committee member, so do you have a preference? I don't have a preference.
I mean, no.
Well, I mean, I guess I also want to be considerate of all of what we have. Are both the upcoming, the 7th and the, what is it, 21st, are they pretty stacked meetings?
The 7th has significant things I know in work session. The 21st, I don't have the rolling in front of me to,
but that's, we might have the LDC stuff coming back on the 21st
We
or
do
not.
LDCs on the 21st.
Yeah, the 7th is pretty light in terms of the number of items. I don't know the extent, the conversations may be lengthy, but the number of items is
Well,
not
if
that
we have
big.
that information, it's ready to go, just send it out tomorrow and.
Okay. Yes. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna re-forward to you two everything that I've gotten from both of you. That way, y'all have everything, and then I guess one of you can send it to the rest of us. Okay.
up, those things. You and I can look through this stuff and put it,
So for next week, April 7th.
Are y'all good with that? I'm looking for 4, okay.
Yes. And thank you, Liz and city manager, because unbeknownst to, I think all of us, it was referred to as 3 different things. So every time we would try to look it up, it wouldn't generate a lot of hits. But yeah, I think it's a combination of keywords that we got as close as we're going to get to the information. Thank you. Thank you.
So who motioned it, Mayor? Sorry. Who motioned it and second?
We didn't do
Oh,
a
okay.
motion, but we can, because this isn't set up
Oh,
for
okay.
necessarily a motion, but we all agreed to bring it back next time.
All right,
So if that's legal,
we're good.
okay. Then we are on to item 22.
Hold a discussion regarding options for improving efficiency of city council meetings and provide direction as appropriate.
That floor is open. I think what we need to identify first is what do we really mean by improving the efficiency? Are we really just talking about trying to make things go faster? Are we talking about what materials that we need that might make it go faster? I don't know, but I'm kind of, and this was, Mr. Scott has something to say, but this was Mr. Gonzalez who suggested this, so I'm going to go to him next. But Mr. Scott, turn on your microphone, please, because we want to hear you.
Ever since I was on council, the way we used to do it, it worked very well, is the first 30 minutes, we'd have those public comments, and then everybody else would go when it was time for the public hearings. So I think that we need to go back to that.
You're saying limit citizen comment to only 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
Yeah, we took that away a while ago.
No, we
but-
do, I'm gonna bring it back.
But, hold on, but Mr. Gary, can we do that with that legislation that passed back in 2017 or 2019? Because that was our rule back then when we allowed it, and when that came from the state legislature that we have to have citizen comment, can we limit it?
have a little concern in terms of, they have to have the ability to speak on any item on the agenda at some point during of course, public hearings, they can always speak, but there does have to be an opportunity. I haven't seen case law come down, though, on, hey, you have the opportunity, but not after 30 minutes have passed. So I'd have to look at that a
You got
little
the
closer.
end, you got the middle, you got the beginning, you got plenty of opportunity.
Right, but some items don't have a public hearing.
Sure,
And so
but you
the-
have the end of as well, you have public comments.
When that law changed, we had a lot of conversation here. I don't remember if you had come back yet or not. And we talked about, do we allow people to speak at each item? And I believe what we ended up with, because that's what we're doing, is to let people come and do their citizen comment at 6 o'clock or maybe
speak on
shortly
any
thereafter.
item.
So they can go home, have dinner, and do homework with the kids or whatever, and they don't have to wait for item 20 to speak on item 20.
That's
And so
correct.
we said the citizen comment had been working for us, and so we left it the way that it was. But it was 2 or 3 years ago that I said, let's remove this 30-minute because we don't limit it. At least in my time on council, we have not limited it. The mayor would say, okay, we've got 20 speakers. Are we going to hear the rest of them past the 30, even when we said 30? And in my time, we always said yes. So I said, let's get rid of this farce of saying 30 minutes. And that means Ms. Trevino's staff doesn't have to tell person 11 plus, you may not get to speak. And because we weren't ever limiting it. And so we got rid of the 30-minute time frame, but it was partly because of,
The legislation, because
Yeah.
they do have to have an opportunity to speak at some point on any item. So that's been the thinking.
I tried to by going down to 1 or 2 minutes for a citizen comment, but I got pretty much ripped up by everybody on that one, so, including y'all and the public. So I kind of said, well, okay then.
Not for me.
But go ahead, you didn't help.
For 2 minutes.
And you didn't hear. You did when we got to it here. So,
Oh, I thought you wanted me to say something. Okay,
so
no.
wait a minute, I need to let him
Oh,
finish,
absolutely.
because I
Yes, ma'am.
did kind of interrupt him, so.
Yeah, no, that's
Go
just,
ahead.
I'm just trying to, in my head, see where they can all speak at, everybody can speak at.
Get
If you're
closer to the
saying-
microphone, and I'm not following what you're saying.
If you're saying that they have to be allowed on each item, then why don't we hold public, or this public speaking, citizen comment to it until we reach that item?
That's not going to shorten it, and like I said earlier, we had decided,
Right.
let people speak at 6 o'clock. And if they want to, let them go home and do what they need to do and not make them wait until that item comes up on the agenda. Plus, they can speak about a whole bunch of things in their 3 minutes, and they can stay if they want to. They're always welcome to stay, but they don't have to. And I know some people got to go home, get home to kids and stuff.
Well, that's all my ideas.
Right, and Mr.
How
Scott,
does
I
letting
will-
people speak on each item shorten the meeting?
It just depends. I mean, you could have people that don't want to necessarily speak on it and don't want to wait around on it, and they tell their friends to say this or that. I mean, there's a number of things that can happen with that.
I will do a little more research on that to see if it's absolutely, but I think that's the idea, that under the new statute is they got to have an opportunity somewhere along the way to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
on
I
the
can.
items. But I will,
I've got a whole folder on that
I'll drill
topic.
down on that.
Thank you.
Well, just to add to some combo, if I may, Mayor, like, to me, it's not the time of letting people hear, or hearing what they have to say. I think it's its own movement in itself, right? When people really care about something and they all gather together, I mean, it's a democratic process, it's pretty
About
cool.
time.
Literally.
But it's when we're making decisions at 2:30 in the morning, for instance, on the data center, the most recent one. So I
Oh,
think that's
there's
what
been
came up.
more.
Well, there's been more, but what I'm saying is the most recent example. So I think in the spirit, it was, Lorenzo brought it up, but it was within regards to how can we do these things better in the most efficient manner. And I don't know that there is a great clear answer outside of just maybe council's urgency to move on items that we can move on, you know? So that's my 2 cents.
hold on, I need to go to and let Mr. Gonzalez speak,
Oh, it's his
because
thing.
he was the one that put this one, asked that we, he initiated the request to put this on the agenda, and I think that we need to, let him address it. Sorry.
Did I really? I don't remember.
I remember what you said, but I'm gonna let you say it.
Well, I mean, for the most part, my whole thing was actually against limiting the public speech when we're taking time to give our own comments. But, I guess in thinking through the reasoning behind why we're even addressing this, was it just naming the elephant in the room? The data center discussions allowed people to speak up to 3 times at P&Z and then up to 3 times here, which allowed them to speak for 9 minutes. But statutorily, we're only required to allow someone to address items on the agenda. So in theory, if they're gonna speak on something that's in public hearing, we don't have to allow them to speak in citizen comment. So I'm not really sure how we would word it, but limiting it to only speaking 1 time during a meeting on any agenda item, whether it's in the public hearing or at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, so that I understand what you're saying 3 times, you're talking about citizen comment, the PSA, and then the zoning. Are those the 3 that you're talking
Well,
about?
no, I'm talking about, so like if something is agendized as a public comment, they can speak during citizen comment at the beginning of the meeting, during the item, and then at the end of the meeting with,
Under Q&A?
yeah, under Q&A.
Well, sometimes there's a second item too. There's an item in the zoning.
Well,
for
no,
the
but
item.
that, but that would be 2
A
items.
a
so-
lot of
Then
these,
at the end of the
it's
meeting.
going to be citizen comment, the PSA, in this particular case, PSA did pass, so the zoning became moot. But if a PSA passes, then yes, there's the zoning. So there's an opportunity to speak for 9 minutes on the same topic at the same meeting. And I wasn't gonna go through all that detail when I was saying, let's drop the 3 minutes, but that's accurate. And then if it's more than 1 reading, which zoning is, there's another opportunity to
Right.
talk at least 6 minutes at the next meeting, where often the exact same things are said.
Well, but, because if I'm understanding or reading the code correctly, which is, if a government body allows a member of the public to address the body regarding an item on an agenda for an open meeting of the body, they should allow each member of the public who desires to address the body regarding the item to address before or during consideration of the item.
Would you
So-
give me the section in the code so I can look that up? Because I'm a visual.
Yes, Texas Open Meetings Act,
Yeah, I'm there.
551.007.
That's what I'm looking for, thank you.
So, but, and this is more me thinking out loud, but to your point of there's a PSA and if that passes, then there's a zoning, but those are 2 different items. So theoretically, they should be allowed statutorily to speak twice. I don't think we could limit that. But we could limit them talking during citizen comment and then talking on the agenda item.
Yeah.
And then talking again at the end of the meeting.
So I'm not sure how we're making any progress here.
So
Let me just
essentially
read.
limit to 1 time per agenda item. So if you speak about something that has a public hearing attachment to it during citizen comment, then you cannot sign up and talk about it during the actual public hearing, because you have already been allowed to address the body before the item was heard. So it keeps you from talking about the same thing multiple times.
So I guess what I was gonna just suggest is, first to see if there's traction for the idea, and then if there is, then we can explore it further. If there's 4 people that wanna, go there, and then that's one approach, but, I mean,
I would
I'm happy
entertain
to
a
answer questions
conversation.
before that, but
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what Mr. Gonzalez just said. Are you saying that if there's a public hearing on an item and they speak during the citizen comment, that we not allow, on that topic, that we not allow them to speak again during the public hearing?
So in theory, yes, but I don't think we can because the public hearing.
The public hearing is the thing that you
So it-
legally get to talk about.
So essentially then flip that. If there's a public hearing on the agenda item, you cannot address it during citizen comment.
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. People are gonna talk during citizen comment, and they're gonna not do exactly, but they're gonna get so close, and they're gonna take that 3 minutes. And to sit up here and try to manage that, and we're talking free speech here,
Yeah.
there is not a way that that's going to happen. I will tell you, I was trying to enforce public hearing. I don't know what you're grinning at, because you don't know near as much about this as I do.
No.
So I was trying to enforce on public hearing that you talk about that topic. Because we did have someone who would take their citizen comment. We had 4 public hearings. They'd talk about the same thing that had nothing to do with the public hearing. And every now and then, this person would actually tie it in the last 30 seconds to the public hearing item. And so I finally just gave up. Because there's really hard, sitting here, it's easy to say, sitting here to actually enforce that. Because what you end up with is you end up with an argument with the person at the podium, and you burn more time with the argument than it would have taken to just let them say it.
And that's essentially what I was grinning at, is like, well, it's easy for me to say, I'm not the one that has to be up there and
You're right.
play referee.
But they can always use their 3 minutes to talk about something else. So,
Yeah, it's like I said in the last discussion, I can understand, and I told you this in private too, Mayor, I can understand not wanting to make decisions in the wee hours of the night, brains don't work, fully agree. However, the invocation of the data center really shows how retaliatory this whole discussion can be perceived. I don't know how we can make this any type of decision without understanding how frequently are these meetings going in such long, elongated fashions.
Good point.
Because I've granted minimal time on council, but I can only point to maybe 3. And so for me, in terms of making policy in general, making policy on situations that can feel more of an anomaly is never a good, from an emotional standpoint, in reaction to something, is never really a great way to approach policy. It feels retaliatory, and to your point, this is a diplomatic process. We were elected to serve in these roles, and if that means we have to listen to the people that we go and ask for votes, I'm fine with that. I think that's the least that we can do. It takes a lot of courage to come here. And I can tell you the reason also on time is I also think about accessibility. There have been people who come to council who English is not their first language. And, you know, when you initially told me how council used to do it in terms of the 30 minutes and the response to that, I told you at that moment that I appreciated you understanding that that was a necessary change. So for me, I'm not interested in cutting the people's time off. Now, if we want to address meetings in the late nights, I can entertain that, but I also know that I can't remember if it's in LDC or somewhere throughout the code that should a meeting need to be continued at another business day, that's already codified somewhere. I know I've read it. That power already exists and is available to us should we want to use it.
but you have to do it within
I know there's some
24
sort of
hours
time or something.
Yeah, that's a
And-
legal thing.
And I don't bring that up to necessarily get into the nuances of that specific provision, but I'm just acknowledging the fact that does exist to us and is in our ability. But in terms of if you're seeking interest, general interest in something like that, and any cut to the people's time speaking, I will not be interested.
Well, you notice that's not on the table.
Right. And
Well,
I didn't bring it up.
No, I know.
Again.
I know, Mayor. I'm just saying
No.
it was something that was floated, so I'm just saying.
it was something that came off the end of the meeting as an idea, because we all agreed that nobody wants to make decisions at 2:30 in the morning. I don't think we're trying to take the people's time. So it was a simple discussion, also made in the evening for us to come back here. And then that was a floating agenda item too, so that wasn't in direct retaliation to the previous meeting. However, as unthoughtful as that sounded, it's actually pretty thoughtful to talk about it because it was a good time to talk about it. So nobody's trying to take anybody's time away from them, but it's healthy to have this discussion, albeit, you know,
Well, I
Not
think I
perfect.
want to go back to what Mr. Gonzalez said when he asked for this to be on the agenda, but Ms. Garza had raised her hand before you started speaking, so I'm
Oh.
going to go to her next.
So I have seen other municipalities task somebody. I know we don't have a researcher and we don't have individual staff members assigned to us. And I didn't want to like use the ones that I stumbled across because they were from like outside of Texas. And I know Texas, we have like our own, you know, it's a whole other arena that we're navigating in. But I wonder, I feel like there's energy to talk about like efficiency of city council meetings. I think we owe it to our community to do that as well without like taking away our neighbors' voices and opportunities to speak their mind. But me personally, don't have the capacity right now to like create some sort of literature review or some sort of, you know, research document. But I wonder if like, couldn't we give direction for somebody to research different ideas? Because I feel like we have little ideas here and there, like could we put it in a special meeting, right? And that's the only one that I could see could bring some relief. But even with that, it gets kind of complicated because we're like, what triggers that, blah, blah, blah. But yeah.
I've got an idea on the research is, Ms. Trevino, y'all have a city clerk, whatever, for Texas, maybe and beyond. Is this something that you could post on that message board to say, what do y'all do?
What policy they have and to share, so yeah.
And just see who responds, because if somebody's got a really good method and they want to brag, I think they'll tell us.
I could do that, Mayor.
And that way we can put the word out and receive. I don't know how many responses we'll get. I'm going to throw out a number and say maybe 20, but, you know,
I hope so, that'd be nice.
however
But
many
yes, I could do that.
would be helpful.
And I wonder if you could, like, not limit it just to, like, speaking times of our neighbors, but just like, I think, yeah. just
Time of meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I meant. Yes. It would be interesting to find out how long they allow time to speak, but not suggesting we change ours.
Right,
Hold on,
yeah,
I
I think,
think
yeah.
I've got to go back down here. Okay, what I'm going to ask is, Mr. Gonzalez, when you asked about this being on the agenda after my let's make it less than 3 minutes idea was torpedoed, you said something about limiting citizen comment, but not limiting ourselves or how long we take or something like that. So that's where I thought you were going to be going with this today. So if you could explain that, that would be helpful for me, please. Or did I hear you wrong and you didn't say it that way? If that's the case, just tell me.
Well, so, I mean, I guess the greater message or meaning behind that whole thing was, like I said, was actually a way of being against cutting off how often citizens speak. So in a roundabout way, it was actually pro free speech and not limiting that.
No, I thought you were
I-
specifically
well, no,
talking about how long we talk.
Well, no, so that's what I'm saying, is like,
Okay.
because the discussion was we're limiting how often the citizens talk. So it's like, before we do that, let's limit how often or how long we spend talking. But that, I didn't necessarily have an idea of, well, I mean, I guess I do, but I wasn't really, I guess, trying to propose actual rules to limit how often we talk per se. It was just before we consider cutting the public speaking time, let's cut our own time. In reality, I'm not opposed to staying here until 4 a.m, contrary to popular belief. Like, I'm a night person, so.
How would we limit?
I have something on that. To Ms. Garza's,
Let me make sure I understand. understand or close this loop, and then I'll go to you.
How exactly what?
How would we go about that?
Well, okay, so I guess on a greater scale, my comment was an offhand comment about checking ourselves. So I didn't actually have a plan on how to limit our talking. I don't necessarily think either of us, either group, us or the public, necessarily needs to be limited in our commenting. But if we were gonna limit one group, we should limit ourselves before we limit the people, our bosses, the people that elect us. So it was just kind of a grander comment, not an actual, here's my plan on how we limit how often we speak. Now, as far as how we can go about doing that, I mean, a strict reading of Robert's rules could be implemented, which would mean you talk only twice on an item. And if I remember correctly, it's 3 minutes per occurrence. I wouldn't suggest we do that because there are some things that we have a lot of questions about that we go back and forth. And we might only speak 30 seconds because we're asking a question, but if we have 3 questions, a strict adherence to Robert's rules would keep us from being able to ask all 3 questions. I guess we could ask them all at once, but.
Yeah, I will tell you, in 18 years of sitting up here, this has come up more than once. We have never come up with something that could really be implemented, because if somebody, let's say we limit somebody to 5 minutes and you're speaking and you ask a question and staff takes a minute, who's gonna be sitting there going, okay, with the stopwatch? It's just,
I mean, we could be like Congress and reclaim our time, but that was just a joke.
yeah, you can say that, but who's gonna be sitting there with the stopwatch doing that, so.
So while we're up here
We've got to come up with
brainstorming,
anything other than if we're each respectful to each other and we don't filibuster and take all night and we say something one time and we're done. And that's usually the answer.
yeah, I'm fine with that. Since we're brainstorming, I do have a crazy idea, and feel free to tell me why it's stupid. But there's been a couple of occurrences where and I think Ms. Case did it once, if I remember correctly, but where staff comes up here and it's literally I don't have a presentation, I'm just here for questions. And I know that we don't get a full-time salary and most of us have full-time jobs, but in theory, if we all read our packets before we come to the meeting and then just come with questions because we've already read the presentations, staff wouldn't have to sit up here and give presentations on every item, and that would cut a lot of time.
Yeah, but then you're taking away the ability for the public to know what we're doing for the people who don't read the packets.
Yeah.
And the packets are not accessible, we know that.
I would be curious to know, or to
In the
better-
sense of having to go through, let me correct myself, because I already know you were ready, in the sense of they're thick, they're heavy, they're dense. Not everybody wants to go through a thick, heavy, dense thing. Having a quick presentation, a synopsis for the public is beneficial.
There are
Is what I'm
several
saying.
times like that, youth standards of care would have been one that,
Sure.
a slide or two would have been.
But we also trust
helpful.
staff to be able to determine when that's appropriate.
Well, so I actually don't. Yeah,
And you've actually
embarrassing.
requested, like, hey, can we get a presentation in some
Right.
instances?
I've always wondered what the rhyme and reason is, right? How sometimes it feels like even some items, it's like we've talked about it over and over again. I always like a reminder, me personally. But yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe another thing that we can unpack when we get this do this call for questions. Maybe, City Manager Reyes could help us better understand, I guess, the rhyme or the reason for whether staff give the full presentation or just ask questions. Because I've never understood.
A lot of times it's a judgment call in terms of how much discussion has been had already by mayor and council on something. So if there's been like a work session where you've had a presentation already, you've given direction based on that, then we wouldn't probably do another presentation. If there's been follow-up information that you've asked for, then we probably would want to do some kind of follow-up, whether it's sending you a memo ahead of time, prefacing, something that'll be coming. or if we're answering questions for the public. So anyway, those are kind of some of the things that we look at, is just in terms of, is it just pure operational, more transactional stuff versus things that really may have a larger public concern, if you will? Then those are the things that we're gonna want to unpack, and whether we know that this is something mayor and council have really had a lot of
Like the
interest in.
use standards of care. We do that every year.
Right.
That's operational, but we're talking about children. And, you know, just one slide of, this is what we do, these are the rules by which we operate when we're in care of your children. You know, just one slide to explain what it was all about, I think would have been helpful for the public. I didn't need it, but I think for the public to know what is it that they're talking about would have
So-
been helpful. Just 2 sentences?
So that in addition to the council agenda request form? So.
No, at the meeting.
At the meeting, okay, so, and with all due respect, I think that we can absolutely do whatever mayor and council, but that's gonna add link to the meeting if you're gonna have us do a present, even if it's one slide, just because some things y'all right now aren't talking about, and so
But
then
that
that would
one we
mean.
did.
But y'all can, and so it's whatever y'all feel is most beneficial for you. We're willing to do whatever, council finds helpful.
We're back to what I'm always saying. How does the public see this? Do we have enough information that the public knows what we're doing? And that's what I'm asking for in certain cases. And that one slide, a couple of sentences, boom, we go on down the road. Because that's what the public would want to know about what we're doing with their children. That's why I thought we should have one on that one in particular. I don't ask for that on hardly anything else.
Well, and I guess that's the direct, and that's fine, but I think, yes, for the public, but I think what we still are faced with is making a judgment call on it. And so that's the thing, is that, different folks are gonna have different preferences on some of those things, and to some.
I know, that's what you always say when I want something.
No, Mayor,
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
I'm
you
just,
do.
I'm just saying that it's a situation of, it's still a judgment call. So either we do it for every single thing, or we're gonna continue to have the thing where,
I'm not asking for it for everything.
so
Let that be on the record.
it's just,
I'm not.
it's still a judgment call, is all I'm saying. And so as long as council, y'all are fine with, and that's what we're doing now. But it sounds like we're not getting some of the things that y'all prefer us to have that on. So it could lend itself to that same thing continuing to happen, is all my point is.
Thank you. I know we have to go back in executive session. It's getting late. So I second the ask that Ms. Garza made in terms of, reach out to some people. I know in terms of our strategic plan, we already have an item that all of council agreed to in terms of expert testimony. If we needed to expand that item to include efficiency in talking with other council member or, councils around, I'm fine with that. Because even in terms of member commentary, the state, and it is not commonly used, but the state does have, when they are on the floor discussing an item on the House, at least in the House, a certain time frame each item is allotted. Now, members typically, almost always, extend past that time should it be a contentious item. When that happens, in the state's case, they have a parliamentarian who keeps the track, and obviously we don't have that same.
We tried that.
Yeah, but I'm getting into why it's not. A lot of members don't prefer to invoke it, because then you're messing with rapport that members could have with one another, and it seemed personal. And so oftentimes it is a bipartisan initiative, almost unanimously in most cases, to extend time. And so I would imagine that would happen here, because if, for example, Mr. Mendoza takes the time to read his pack and has a lot to say about an item, I'm gonna respect that he did his research and you're taking the time to do it. So, yeah, but to close this out, because I know we have other business, I'm fine with Ms. Garza's suggestion on throw a little bone out, see what people say, and go from there, because I don't think at this moment we have really anything of substance to decide on.
I agree with that too.
Yes. I will add one more thing. I don't know if this is possible, just throwing this out there. There's just like actual research, or like this isn't, we're not the first municipality who has dealt with this. Unfortunately, they're all hidden behind firewalls because I am not a Bobcat anymore. But yeah, there's whole research on like different, I guess, frameworks and models. So if we do find something that hits based off your call for suggestions, I think that a body of literature exists where we could unpack it further.
I wonder if retirees have access.
I don't know, but I'm fixing to send a little email to my BFF at Texas State to be like, hey, you don't give us parking passes. I have to walk a mile just to get somewhere on campus. Give me access to the library. Come on, you know? So.
12foot.io lets you get past most paywalls, just so you know.
Do what?
12foot.io will let you get past most paywalls.
Yeah, we're not doing all that.
But Ms. Reyes, is that something that y'all could ask for the next time you meet with the university? See if we could get 1, 2 people we could get in there, maybe 7 council members and a
And-
staff.
And Ms. Garza,
And
I'll
what are
work with
we're
city
act-
clerk as well on some of that research through the Texas city attorneys. We'll work on that together.
And if we could find that part in the code book that talks about if you had to move a meeting, just for my purposes, that would be great.
I'm sorry, the what?
If we had to move a meeting, because we don't make this all stems from not making a decision at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
if
it's
you didn't
not
want to
really-
make the
It's
decision.
being able to continue one.
Right, and
It's gotta be
that's-
something,
it's
Mr. Gary can find
basically,
out. But there's some real limits on it. Like if we wanted to say, we're gonna pick this up at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning,
Yeah,
Yeah.
not for the purpose of, obviously, we want to make the
Yeah,
decision,
well,
but
I'll find the
yeah.
LDC though that talks about that. That has to do with if you wait a certain amount of time, you often have to reschedule the public hearing, for example.
Right, yeah.
no,
But
I'm talking about what's like in the Open Meetings Act, that you can recess
Yes.
for a limited period of time. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
And what were you asking me to ask about access to? It's to their listservs or what?
Whatever she's saying.
It's just their library research. Like if you're a student or faculty or staff, you can log in through the Alkek library and you basically have access to every research journal. So, and I've found a couple, what makes municipal councils effective and empirical analysis on how council members perceive their group interactions and processes. There's a whole body of literature for this. And I imagine that there's some good stuff actually from Texas State scholars, just given that, yeah, our public admin program is like really strong.
MPA
So,
program.
Ready?
Hold on.
I
Yeah,
just
I'm
had-
I'm just checking this side to see what other comments there may be. Mr.
So I
Gonzalez.
had a question to Ms. Rodriguez's point when I mentioned limiting or minimizing presentations, and that's the public's access to presentations. Is there a public-facing, like essentially our interactive agenda, where they can go in there and see, not just get a 1,000-page PDF, but can actually go and see the PowerPoint presentation
Well,
and the
if-
supporting documents
If you
separately?
download the packet, it doesn't work if you're looking at it online, but if you download the packet and open up the bookmarks, Ms. Trevino and her staff do an excellent job on the bookmarks. And on each item, you can open that up and you can see where the presentation is, where the ordinance is. So people can go directly to particular items. And I've actually asked Ms. Trevino if she'll always put the presentation first, because if I start reading stuff, I have a lot of questions, and I go down and look at the presentation, it answers all my questions. So if we see the presentation first, which is kind of an executive summary at times, that's helpful.
And
So there's been some comments made, it says in comment, well, I don't have access to stuff you have up there in your packet, and I'm going, yes, you do. And I use the packet, I don't use Legistar. But the public has access to that too, correct?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
The Legistar?
Is that the
I'm sorry,
interactive
interactive agenda, that's what I
Yeah,
meant to say.
Mr. Gonzalez, the interactive agenda is going to be the tool that you're talking about. However, I can say, as somebody who used to follow council stuff, I didn't even know that existed. And so, however, we better communicate that that's for the I had no idea. I didn't realize that actually until maybe a couple months into my
I never used it. I've tried to
Yeah.
use it.
But it
and
does have
I
the
just-
option that he's talking about where you can just click on the presentation if you don't want to see the
Yep.
contracts, the,
Same thing
minutia of an
in
issue.
What I just said about the big packet, is if you open up
Which,
the
yeah, I
bookmarks.
Yeah.
When I get into the interactive, I'm doing this and I'm afraid I'm gonna miss something because when you go back too far. And so that's why I go the packet and I may skip over pages and pages of surveys and stuff, but I use those bookmarks. P and Z does not bookmark their stuff like
How
the
dare
city
they.
clerk's office
Yeah,
does.
but I guess my issue with, I mean, one, I guess I have the opposite. Like, I find the interactive agenda a lot easier, even up here. But my issue with doing it the way you're saying is, depending on what computer you have, loading a 3,000-page PDF to even be able to access the bookmarks could be an issue. So
100%.
with the interactive agenda, at least what I see beneficial from it is, yes, if you want to skip the minutia, you don't have to go into it, but also the opposite. If you actually want to see the lines of every contract, you can open just a contract and not have to go through the presentation or whatever.
Yeah.
Because everything is, so, there's a line item for each agenda item, and then within the agenda item, there's essentially like a folder that has it has the presentation, all the
I've seen
supporting.
it, I just don't like to use it because I don't like missing stuff. For me, the book, download the packet, and we've never had one, I don't think that was 3,000 pages, but if it's over,
HSAB.
something over 1,000, you do it in 2 parts.
Yeah, I think this speaks to something I brought up last time too, is that we don't have one of those cheat sheet documents that has like all the city councils, what is it, it's usually called, the policies and procedures, like I sent it out where it'll, it's just like a cheat sheet of.
What did you send?
I don't know if I sent it to you, Mayor.
That's why I
But
don't
yeah,
remember seeing it.
yeah, I mentioned it though. But it kind of outlines a bunch of the stuff that we are not all aware of, right?
I think you're talking about, like, for example, you'd almost like a little compilation of like everything in chapter 2, for example, that deals with decorum, rules of procedure, and you and I have talked about that, and so it's something
Right.
we can put together.
Yeah, because
Yeah, but we've had
so-
policies that we didn't adopt by resolution and they get lost over the years.
Right, like,
Right.
yes,
And
we have some of those.
to that point, like when trying to figure out even, I know Amanda said you didn't know something until you were like a couple months in. I've had those moments where, like I didn't know what the process was for a special meeting or what's the process for, like I get them confused. Like I know that there's some outline in our ordinances, but like there's one by the city of Draper and they cover the different types of meetings, right? Everything from regular, special, emergency, closed meetings, their order of business, presiding officers and duties. And I know we have these all, again, in our ordinances, but not in like a,
Cheat sheet.
yeah, And even this one has like types of motions and reconsideration, like little things like that. I feel like that if we all had to study would help with the efficiency of meetings, right? Because I feel like sometimes we also are like, what is the right move to make live on the dais in order to move the conversation or table it or, get more research? Like, unless you've been watching city council meetings for years, and I did that, right? My mentor was a former city council member, and I still am lost in the sauce sometimes. So I can't imagine folks coming in without being a nerd.
Well, and that's where you need somebody in the center chair who knows parliamentary procedure. Because when I teach parliamentary procedure, I say people think it's cumbersome, but let me tell you, if people know how to use it, it makes the meeting run more efficiently.
Right.
I mean, we do have a SharePoint that maybe we could add all of our decorum, the policies, the ordinances, so y'all could have it in one link and it'll be all together.
Could we just
We'll do
add
that.
to the SharePoint site that Carrie has already developed?
that's
And just
on-
kind
that's
of
what
put,
you
since
said.
Yeah.
y'all have got that, and we can just put all that in
Just
there and
add
put
it
it in a
together.
folder, and that way it's,
That's what she said.
okay.
Yeah.
I
Good
didn't hear
idea.
I didn't hear the SharePoint, I just heard we could do one
She
link,
said
so.
central area we can get to.
Okay, sounds,
Okay. Where'd you go?
Mr. Scott.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez struck on something about if you are ready when you come here to vote. I find that one of the strongest things. Amanda's really good at that. Most of the council members are. I very rarely don't read the agenda, and I'm just ready to know what I'm going to vote when I get here. But that being said, we work off each other, the nuances, well, and the conversations where we get more ideas. And so another thing we also used to do is on Fridays at 3 o'clock, we'd get a meeting here with all the directors, and we'd ask them, what's this one, what's that about, what's that about, what's that about? It didn't run very long either, about an hour, maybe an hour and a half long. And you would basically get all the information, all your ideas were bounced off each other. So when you really come down to the meeting, you're ready to vote. There's not, unless something miraculous shows up, but in general, you're ready to go.
Was that,
On
just because I'm not
Fridays.
familiar, was
We-
it
we
an
had a-
open?
It was called a
Yes.
packet
It was
meeting.
open meeting?
We had it here. The agenda was the same. It was in preparation for the upcoming Tuesday's meeting. And, we could ask questions. It meant nobody got to go to lunch on Friday for that particular Friday. But one of the problems with that is that's when sometimes our agenda didn't get posted till Thursday night, the agenda and the packet. So how do you come in prepared with your
Right.
questions
'Cause I
if you had
typically-
something
yeah.
you needed to go to on Thursday night? And so even if we had the agenda, I can recall people asking questions and burning time at the packet meeting that was in the ARF on the front page. And for me, that wasn't
hadn't
Mr.
had the
Scott.
time to read it.
They were wasting time asking questions that was right there. And we call it the ARF, the Agenda Review Form. It's actually the executive summary of that item, and it's usually 1 or 2 pages. So if somebody really wants to look at just, what's this about? But they would ask questions about stuff that was in there very clearly, and staff would always politely answer it. I'm going, I read my stuff. They're burning my time. So it wasn't forever, but there was a lot of that. The packet meetings didn't help me a lot, mainly because I didn't have time to read the stuff the night before when I got home from an event at 9 o'clock on Thursday before noon on Friday.
And
So that's why I didn't like packet
there
meetings.
is one also change that does affect the packet meetings. It's not insurmountable, but it has an impact, and that is the new posting requirements. It used to be 72 hours. In fact, we used to have packet meetings, and sometimes out of that discussion would generate an addition to the actual agenda for the meeting that's coming up, because you still had 72 hours, but now you have to have that 3 business days ahead of the packet meeting, then in addition to the 3 business days ahead of the actual meeting itself. So we would have to post the packet meetings like, say, Monday of that week, which, we can adjust to anything, but just so you know, it's a bit of a mechanical issue.
Well, that, I think, was rare that anything like that happened. But I would say that now, the agenda has to be posted that 3 business days. So
Correct.
the agenda is posted earlier. I don't know if we always get to the whole packet, but that actually helps us if we were to continue doing it on Friday. That would give us an extra day or two. I'm still not interested, because here's the deal. Let's say that it takes an hour to an hour and a half. For me, we were going over everything twice, and I don't think it shaved an hour to an hour and a half off the meeting. Plus, another problem was the public. A lot of people in the public are not going to be watching at noon on Friday. They're probably not going to watch.
Yeah.
And so what you've got some stuff being done in public, but not as accessible to the public. So if we came in and on Tuesday night, we don't have any discussion and we just vote, but the discussion was on Friday, that's really making the public have to dig and to find what is it that we're talking about and why.
We videotaped it.
But they may not have time to watch it over the weekend.
I feel
So
like.
that's where we
Yeah.
are, that's where I am on that one.
I feel like just like having that as an option in the toolbox is like something that we could consider. I understand that you felt that it wasn't like a good tool for you in the past, but I imagine, or perhaps when you make that call for suggestions, like that might be something. Does that make sense? Or
If
like,
the agenda's coming out sooner, it makes more sense.
right.
Or we can make it come
Yeah.
out sooner.
So basically what I'm saying is, if anybody suggests something like that, do include it. I think that anything
I agree,
any
just
tool,
stay
so
on the
we could,
list.
yeah,
I'm just not
unpack,
likely to
yeah.
vote for it.
Yes, ma'am. 'Cause maybe
Just so you know.
another entity has like a better way of managing it with timelines or something, I don't know.
Yeah, Shani, I'm down to like workshop that, but I even tried
Well,
to.
you wouldn't have workshops anymore.
No, I'm saying I'm down to like
Workshop
workshop
is
that.
different.
Yeah,
But,
we
okay,
can
well,
get- we
the,
can
let
get
me
rid
just
of
make
them.
it clear, the invitation was to workshop the idea specifically. I'm fine with doing that, but I can tell you, when I read the packet, it's taking me Saturday and Sunday, and I'm like rushing to get my questions in on the message board before 8 already. Factoring in doing that ahead of time, it's tough.
Well, the message board came about after that.
As a result?
Not really a substitute, but that's a way you could ask your questions and get them answered before the meeting. So the message board, which isn't exactly a substitute, but that was a response for, well, how do we get our questions asked before the meeting and answered? And so the message board was a tool to provide that. We didn't have message board when we had packet meetings.
Yeah, because to your point, that is why I use the message board, is to get those questions out to staff ahead of time as to cut down on time here. Sometimes I will do the, hey, I asked this on the message board, but I'm down to workshop that. I just don't know how I feel about it right now, but I'm down. But I know we have other items.
Well, hold on, I got some, what do they call that? Take up a lot of time, and just joking.
Josh, you got any more thoughts on this?
No. That was a really efficient talk, guys.
Mr. Mendoza? This is probably my
Hey,
8th time to have this
we're not,
conversation.
we're not gonna figure it out tonight, but it's healthy to have this
Well,
conversation.
at the end of the day, we've got two major cities around us, and we're growing to be over 120,000 people, you know, within a decade or a decade and a half. We've got San Antonio and Austin who have spent decades with their population, stuff like that, so that I'm happy
And
with that.
Austin starts her council meeting at what time? 10 in the morning?
Oh, yeah.
But that's, it makes it hard for the
Not
public.
suggesting we do, just
Oh, no,
stating
no,
the
no.
fact.
Yeah,
But
you're right
they're
about
able
that.
to
And
take that
even
into-
council members attest to that too.
Yeah, to your point, Matthew, Austin is one of the entities who has like
Good.
routinely revisited
And that's what
their
we-
thing, like
we
to
know they have better
assess.
practices and-
Yeah.
and-
They were trying to go to 1 minute on citizen comment.
Oh, I'm there. They've tried to do some interesting things over there in Austin, but we keep San Marcos, San Marcos.
And some were not allowed.
Yeah.
Typical. All right, let's wrap it.
Anything else? Okay, do we have anything that we want to come back to us? Okay.
Wait, what?
Then,
Yeah, everything from Liz.
I know, but anything in
F.
particular at a certain date?
Oh,
By tomorrow, no, I'm saying.
no.
Not likely. Okay, so we will move on to item 23, Ms. Trevino.
The San Marcos City Council will convene an executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Government Code. A, Section 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate regarding the duties and responsibilities of the municipal court judge. B, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice regarding 1, State of Texas versus City of San Marcos et al., cause number 24-0267, 207th District Court, Hays County, Texas, concerning an ordinance related to the enforcement of certain marijuana laws. 2, the arrest of 2 individuals near Ocarina Springs Drive and Charles Austin Drive on March 14, 2026. And 3, processing of information requests related to police-involved incidents. C, Section 551.072, real property, and Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to deliberate and receive legal advice regarding the lease of city-owned real property located at 201 South LBJ Drive. D, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice regarding the City of San Marcos versus Canyon Regional Water Authority, cause number 25-0782-CV-E, 456 District Court, Guadalupe County, Texas, and possible settlement agreement.
Good job, Liz. Motion to move.
All right.
Motion to
Second.
move in executive session.
Motion by
Phenomenal job as
Ms.
always.
Rodriguez. I'll take yours. Second, Mr. Scott. And we're going to vote to go into executive session again. Oh, sorry.
The motion passes 7-0.
Making the motion does not absolve you from having to vote for it.
I sent a copy of the document that I was talking about.
We have returned from our executive session that we concluded at 11 o'clock. Ms. Trevino, yeah, that's your name. Would you read our last item, item 24, please? But if you would stop at the end of each one, and I'll say what I need to say.
Okay.
Because if I wait till the end, it's going to get confusing.
So consider action by motion or provide direction to staff related to the city council's executive session deliberation under the following sections of the Texas Government Code. A, section 551.074, personnel matters, to deliberate regarding the duties and responsibilities of the municipal court judge.
And we held that discussion.
B, section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice regarding, one, the state of Texas versus the city of San Marcos et al., cause number 24-0267, 207th District Court, Hayes County, Texas, concerning the ordinance related to the enforcement of certain marijuana laws.
We received that information.
Two, the arrest of two individuals near Ocarina Springs Drive and Charles Austin Drive on March 14, 2026.
We held that discussion.
The processing of information requests related to police-involved incidents.
And we held that discussion.
C, section 551.072, real property, and section 551.072, consultation with attorney to deliberate and receive legal advice regarding the lease of city-owned real property located at 201 South LBJ Drive.
And we should have a motion.
So moved.
I'll need you to read it, please.
All right, I motion the following from executive session, item
No,
number.
no.
No?
Right
You
there,
just want me to read it?
right there.
All right, I move that city staff be authorized to pursue any available post-lease remedies due to expiration of the ground lease of city-owned property at 201 South LBJ Drive, San Marcos, Texas, on January 31st, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Paselk. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Scott. Mr. Trevino, we will vote.
Ms. Rodriguez? Oh,
No.
okay, the motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Mendoza absent.
Mr. Mendoza had to leave earlier. Okay, if you will, let's go with item D, please.
Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice regarding the City of San Marcos versus Canyon Regional Water Authority, cause number 25-0782-CV-E, 456 District Court, Guadalupe County, Texas, and possible settlement agreement.
I'll make this motion. I move that the city manager, in coordination with legal counsel, be authorized to execute a settlement agreement and related documents in the above referenced case. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Heard from Mr. Scott first, probably because he's sitting closer to me, but we have a motion by me and seconded by Mr. Scott. I'm not seeing any discussion, so we'll vote on this one, and she's already got our little buttons ready.
Okay, motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Mendoza absent.
Okay, and that concludes our executive session. Part of that was during the 3 o'clock Q&A with press and public. Do we have anyone online? No one is here. There being no further items for action on our agenda, we will adjourn at 11:04. And Josh?